I have two bodies, but they are separated, divided by two different worlds. My first body is trapped in an apocalyptic wasteland. It's crawling with zombies, and I'm on the verge of starving to death. Then there is my other body, living on a peaceful planet called Blue Star. But in that world, I've been diagnosed as a mental patient. Both versions of me wrongly believe the other isn't real. I thought the other life was just an illusory dream. The me in the apocalypse? I dismissed those visions as hallucinations before death. Meanwhile, the authorities see my situation very clearly. The me in reality is being tormented. This realistic nightmare is driving me completely insane. Until one day, the apocalyptic me finally hit a breaking point. The torture of hunger was too much, so I crept into a residence. It belonged to a wealthy man in the neighborhood. I was desperate for food, after a desperate struggle to kill the zombie inside the house. But I discovered that aside from piles of gold bars in the mansion, there wasn't a single grain of food to be found. I was right on the verge of starving to death. Suddenly, a tempting aroma of rice wafted from the brain of the zombie I'd just cut down. I immediately leaned in to investigate. Deep inside the zombie's skull, a white crystal stone appeared. That scent, it smelled like the richest rice I'd ever known. The smell made me lose my mind completely. I lost all reason and reached out with my bare hand. I grabbed the crystal stone and swallowed it whole. In an instant, I felt a crushing weight on my heart. A soul-tearing pain ripped through my entire body. At the same time, my skin began to turn a deep shade of pink. It grew redder and burned hot to the touch. Just as I was about to pass out from the agony, a thunderous roar echoed inside my mind. My head slammed hard against the box of gold bars, and I blacked out on the spot. Simultaneously, the me back in the city jolted awake from a dream. It was too terrifying to be anything but a nightmare. But why did that agonizing pain feel so real, as if I'd lived it myself? I checked my phone. It was 1:25 in the morning. That matches the exact timing of my experience in the apocalypse. It was just after 1:20 in the afternoon during the day. Is there some kind of connection between these two worlds? After swallowing that crystal from the zombie's skull, did my dream self die, or did I undergo some kind of evolution? I closed my eyes and tried to think calmly. But the moment my eyelids shut, I saw it. A void appeared in my mind, about a meter wide. And sitting right inside that space was the box of gold bars. I froze, paralyzed by the sight of it. Then, a sudden, desperate thought flashed through my head. I wanted to pull those gold bars out into the room. A split second later, I heard a heavy thud. The box of gold materialized out of thin air and slammed onto the floor. I stared at the heavy chest, completely stunned. It's real. It's all actually real. I'm not losing my mind. The dream gave me a way to see the truth. The end of the world isn't just a nightmare. It's coming. Is this really my new reality? A parallel version of me is out there, suffering through the end of the world. I opened the box with trembling hands and found 30 gold bars inside. They were perfectly aligned, each one about 1.5 meters in size. Each bar weighed exactly 500 grams. I quickly started calculating their value based on the current market price. A single gram of gold is worth about 550 yuan. That makes one gold bar worth roughly 260,000 yuan. The total value of these 30 bars is over 8 million yuan. Actually, it's closer to 8.25 million. But there was more in the box than just the gold bars. I found a pair of Imperial Green Jade Collection pieces worth over 100 million. I'm rich. Instantly, a surge of adrenaline made my entire body shake. My heart was pounding like a drum against my ribs. But I forced myself to calm down because this is only the beginning. If I can keep bringing things back from that apocalyptic world, it's the same as owning a treasure chest with no bottom. Society has collapsed over there, so diamonds, gold, and jade are worthless. I have to make sure my other self in that timeline stays alive. He needs to survive so he can keep scavenging for me. As long as he collects items in that space, I can pull them into my world. So, does that mean I can collect things and put them in there too? The thought hit me, and I stood up immediately to test it out. I grabbed a random bottle of mineral water and focused my mind on storing it. The bottle in my hand vanished into thin air. At that exact moment, the same bottle appeared inside the storage space. A flash of pure joy lit up my eyes. It worked. My theory was right. If I can pull things out, my other self in the apocalypse should be able to do the same. I need to stockpile a massive amount of food and water in this space. I have to make sure my other self stays fed and hydrated. I can't let him starve to death in that wasteland. Our fates are tied together. We are the same person, just living in two different worlds. I must ensure his survival at all costs. With that goal in mind, I moved quickly. I pulled out my phone and checked my balance. I immediately ordered over 3,000 yuan worth of takeout food. As soon as it arrived, I stored every bit of it into the space. Exhausted from the rush, I collapsed onto my bed and fell fast asleep. Meanwhile, my other self in that dormitory finally opened his eyes. I woke up from my faint, but my body wouldn't move an inch. The pain was gone, and I actually felt strangely comfortable. But that gnawing hunger from earlier? It was still there, tearing at my stomach. In my dream, I had ordered over 10 portions of takeout and had a storage space. Was I just hallucinating because I'm starving to death? With that thought, I closed my eyes immediately. To my absolute shock, I discovered it wasn't a dream. There was an extra space in my mind filled with a massive pile of supplies. With just a single thought, All those supplies appeared right in front of me out of thin air. I wasn't seeing things. There was roasted duck, roasted chicken, burgers, braised pork trotters, pork belly, and ribs. There were even various fruits, snacks, and drinks. The food was still steaming hot, and the sight of it made my head spin. I didn't hesitate for a second. I tore open the takeout boxes. I started eating frantically, shoving the food into my mouth. I ate like a beast, devouring everything in sight. I patted my stomach with pure satisfaction. In the 2 months since the apocalypse began, this was the first time I had ever felt this full. These supplies are enough to keep me eating well for days. It seems everything I experienced in that dream wasn't just a dream at all. It was real. Everything I went through in that year 2000, that parallel world, is actually real. 2 months of binge eating there caused me to gain 60 pounds in that urban world. My girlfriend even dumped me because of it, existing in 2 different worlds at once. Honestly, both versions of me were in a pathetic state. One was starving to death, and the other was a cheated, abandoned loser acting like a lapdog. But starting today, our destinies are about to change forever. This gold, these jewels, and these precious stones, they're completely worthless here in the apocalypse, but they are worth a fortune in the other world. I could buy a fleet of cars with just a fraction of this. I have a massive stockpile of supplies now, more than enough to live a life of luxury. Even in the middle of this apocalypse, I need to spend these next few days fixing my physical condition. I need the strength to protect myself when the zombies eventually strike. Once I realized that, I decided to start training immediately. Before, I never had enough food to spare. Exercise would have burned through my precious energy. It would have left my body starving and weak. I didn't dare move back then, but now, I have no more worries. Improving my fitness is no longer a choice, it's a necessity. I began to work out like a man possessed. I pushed myself to the limit over and over, again and again. I didn't stop until I was completely exhausted. Then, I started eating and drinking like a king. I needed to replenish my energy, and right then, I could clearly feel my body changing. My digestion has become incredibly efficient. I have all the fuel I need to rebuild myself. My body is like a ravenous beast now. It's devouring every nutrient I feed it without hesitation. This is making me grow stronger at an incredible rate. If I only had the chance to hunt down another zombie, I could take its crystal core and place it in the center of my space. If I am not the space itself, how do I make myself one with it? If my other self in the city could just get a crystal core, he should be able to improve his physical health rapidly too. I need a real system to burn through this fat and build muscle. Meanwhile, back in the city, it was 7:30 in the morning. I woke up and opened my eyes. I stared at a box filled with gold bars and a pair of imperial jade pieces. The emerald green glow made me feel like I was in a dream. Myself in the apocalypse had already started training, so naturally, I couldn't afford to fall behind either. I sat down and started working. I needed a guaranteed supply plan to support my survival in the apocalypse. Then, I grabbed the gold bars and headed into the city to sell them. I hit 30 jewelry stores, selling at 530 yuan per gram. By the end, I was holding a total of 7,950,000 yuan. With the cash secured, I took a taxi straight to the black market. I needed to buy 2 high-quality machetes. I also picked up 3 heavy-duty felling axes. Next, I headed to a massive shopping mall. I spent an entire hour loading up on essential supplies. But then I realized I needed a better way to handle things. I needed a permanent place to store my stockpile for the future. So, I bought the place I'm currently renting for 2.6 million. The landlord agreed to finalize the deed transfer tomorrow morning. Once I finished checking off every single task on my list for the day, I collapsed onto the bed and fell fast asleep. At that exact moment, my other self in the apocalypse was just waking up to start his day. It turns out that between me and my parallel world self, there is exactly a 12-hour time difference. When it's day for him, it's night for me. But that's not the only thing connecting us. It means we can't both be awake at the same time. It's like having one single soul, operating 2 different bodies at once. If I hadn't woken up in time and this place had been overrun by zombies, I would have been in serious trouble. I frowned as the realization hit me. I need to find a much safer location. I can't afford to be disturbed while I'm asleep in the other world. I immediately shifted my focus. I closed my eyes and concentrated on my inventory. I pulled out all the supplies I had stored in my spatial dimension. Melee weapons and every kind of food imaginable spilled out. But the storage space is still way too small. I can't stockpile everything I need all at once. Still, these supplies should be enough to help me survive. They'll last me at least half a month. After unpacking the gear and eating my fill, I felt my strength returning. Energy began surging through my entire body. I geared up and prepared to head out into the sunlight. I need to hunt down some lone zombies. If I keep collecting blood nuclei, those crystals could solve my biggest problem. They can expand my storage space. I just need to make it bigger. With that in mind, I grabbed my mountain axe and headed out. But I wasn't in a rush to find a massive horde to fight. Instead, I decided to sweep the floors for gold and jewelry. I'd clear out the lone zombies hiding inside the apartments. It was safer than risking an ambush out in the open streets. I started my sweep from the 19th floor up to the 20th. I was clearing out my very own building. The loot was decent, but I didn't run into a single zombie. That changed the moment I kicked open the door to Unit 3001. 3 zombies suddenly lunged out of the shadows. They were right on top of me. I didn't blink as I raised my mountain axe high. I buried the blade deep into the first zombie's skull. It dropped dead instantly, but the other 2 were already midair, snapping at my throat. The narrow doorway worked in my favor. They couldn't all lunge at me at the same time. I whipped out another machete, and I went to work on them. I hacked the remaining 2 zombies to pieces. Then I quickly stepped forward. I split their skulls open to check for loot, but only the largest zombie had a crystal nucleus. It turns out not every zombie carries a crystal in its brain. After digging out the prize, I headed back to Unit 1901. I looked at the nucleus in my hand. I decided to consume it right then and there. My other self back in the urban world isn't in any danger. He's not facing a life or death crisis like I am. I'm the one who needs to boost my strength as fast as possible. I locked all the doors and windows tight. I even barricaded the main entrance with heavy furniture. Then I swallowed the crystal nucleus. I took it down in one single gulp. 10 seconds later, it hit me. A surge of heat erupted from my chest. I could feel myself being transported to a completely different level. My adrenaline was redlining. Every muscle cell and tissue in my body began dividing at a rapid pace. But along with the power came a crushing sense of desperation. An unprecedented, hollow hunger clawed at my heart. Seeing the state I was in, I knew I had to act fast. I ripped open my supplies and started eating like a starving animal. I forced down 5 days' worth of adult rations in a single sitting. Finally, a hint of fullness returned and the pain began to recede. It pulled back like a tide, replaced by an unusually pleasant sensation. The feeling flooded my mind and took over. My entire body felt incredible. I was lucid, as if I possessed a source of inexhaustible energy. At that same moment, my miniature interdimensional storage space reacted. It expanded until it reached about 2 meters. 2 cubic meters meant I could now carry double the supplies. Just as I was savoring these changes to my life, and my body, a sudden knock echoed at the door. I went on high alert instantly. I immediately gripped 2 machetes in my hands. I crept toward the door as a young woman's voice drifted in from outside. "Is anyone there?" she asked from behind the barricade. I leaned in and peered through the peephole. It was a girl, maybe 20 years old. She was leaning weakly against the door frame. Her eyes were glazed over, filled with a hollow, numb exhaustion. She looked like someone who had finally reached a desperate decision. "Who are you?" I asked coldly. "My name is Lin Siyu. I live in Unit 3002. An hour ago, I saw you kill those 3 zombies outside door 3001. I haven't eaten in 3 days. Can you give me something? Anything to eat? If you can kill zombies, you must be able to find supplies." The name Lin Siyu sounded familiar. Before the apocalypse, she was the famous campus beauty, a rich socialite from Nanda University. Her family owned a massive jewelry business. But the world ended 2 months ago, and noble titles don't mean a thing anymore. Now, she was just another blade of grass waiting to be stepped on. "Why should I feed you? Get out of here right now." My voice remained cold and detached, but Lin Siyu seemed to catch the hidden meaning in my words. "Do you really have food? I can trade with you. If you let me eat a full meal, I'll give you whatever you want. Don't worry, I'm clean." Lin Siyu looked terrified that I might reject her. She quickly added one more thing, desperately trying to raise the stakes of her offer. I hesitated for a moment after hearing her proposal. Then, I pulled the door open. "Get in." Once she stepped inside Unit 1901, Lin Siyu was shocked to see that this place actually had a real stockpile of food. I looked her up and down, fixing my gaze on the necklace around her throat. "Give me that necklace on your neck. Do that, and you can take enough food to last you for 2 days. What, is that all you want?" Lin Siyu pointed at the necklace around her throat, unable to believe her own ears. She had already prepared herself to make the ultimate sacrifice. Who would have thought the man in front of her only wanted a piece of jewelry? This piece was known as the Cosmic Azure. The massive sapphire set in the center was a rare blue diamond, a world-class gem of the highest quality. A year ago, it was the crown jewel of the entire GU Jewelry Group. But since the apocalypse began, nobody wants jewels anymore. You can't eat them, and you can't drink them. Without a second thought, Lin Siyu reached up and unclasped the Cosmic Azure from her neck. She traded it to me for 2 days' worth of rations. Once Lin Siyu finally left, a smirk played across the corner of my mouth. If I'm right, this is exactly what I've been looking for. A rare, top-tier energy gem. I just swapped a few bags of snacks for a masterpiece, valued at $200 million. Talk about a profit. I turned back and blocked the door again with heavy furniture. I pulled more supplies out of my storage space. Then I started cooking up some fresh ribs and steak. After eating my fill and drinking plenty of water, I sat back and felt a wave of relaxation wash over me. I lit a cigarette to savor this moment of pure satisfaction. Lin Siyu is beautiful, sure, but I can't let that cloud my judgment. In the apocalypse, you don't trust anyone. At least not until I'm strong enough to handle any betrayal. Besides, women will only slow down the speed of my blade. I checked the time on my watch. It was almost 9 at night, and the woman was long gone. After sealing the doors and windows, I lay down and fell fast asleep. At that exact moment, my other self in the city woke up. It was 9 in the morning. I jumped out of bed and immediately started my workout routine. Was that immersive experience in the wasteland really just a dream? The lingering sensations felt far too real. That true, gnawing feeling of hunger hit me again. forcing me to eat like a beast every time I woke up. This constant eating is exactly why I ended up so overweight. Just as I finished my workout, my phone rang. It was the owner, Chun Dai, coming to pick me up for our meeting. We had to head to the housing office to finalize the transfer papers. I hopped into Chun Dai's Porsche Cayenne. I noticed a jade ornament in his car that looked like a genuine antique. Do you deal in jade too, Chun? I asked. Hey, that's actually my main business, he replied. But my luck has been absolutely terrible lately. I bought several high-priced stones that turned out to be duds. My cash flow dried up, or I never would have reached the point of selling my house. I realized then that Chun was a jade merchant, a trade for the seriously wealthy. Chun, I have a finished jade bracelet I want to sell. Would you buy it? If it's some cheap piece worth a few thousand yuan, forget it, he said casually. Chun was about to start the engine and drive off, but I reached out and stopped him. Don't drive just yet, I told him. Take a look at this bracelet of mine first. I carefully pulled an emerald green bracelet out of my pocket. Chun Dai didn't even bother to look at it at first, but the moment he reached out and gripped the bracelet, he froze. The cold touch, the warm and delicate texture, it was unmistakable. He quickly pulled out a magnifying glass and a flashlight to inspect it closely. Holy crap, this is an imperial green jade bracelet. With his years of experience handling precious stones, he could confirm it immediately. This was a collection-level piece. He remembered a trip to San Francisco. For an auction 2 years ago, an imperial green bracelet of this exact caliber had sold for an astronomical price of 120 million. Damn, Xiao Chun, where did you get this? It's an heirloom my parents left me. It's been in the family for generations. I made up a random backstory on the spot. After talking it over, Chun took me straight to Koei Yuxian, his second uncle's shop. We needed to authenticate my imperial green and AOUC jade bracelets. Both were incredibly rare treasures. The uncle and nephew simply couldn't afford a deal worth hundreds of millions. We discussed a complex buyout involving an IP purchase, a house mortgage, and a future auction. In the end, I walked away with 180 million in cash. I also secured 128 apartment units, plus a villa with a sea view, all in just 1 week. I became a landlord with a monthly income of 500,000. 128 apartments, all paid in full and in my name. 180 million in cash sitting in my account. Meanwhile, during those same 7 days, my apocalyptic self stayed hidden. I didn't leave the house, focusing instead on securing a massive supply of food. I exercised frantically, pushing my body even when I didn't feel like eating. Every single one of my physical health indicators began to rise significantly. My original state of skin and bones finally started to fill out with muscle. 9 a.m. in the wasteland dimension. I woke up in a large, spacious bed. The air seemed to be getting colder by the second. Outside, the snow had started to fall once again. The very first thing I do, the moment I'm fully awake, is start cooking a hot pot in this freezing apocalypse. Enjoying a meal by the edge of the world, with the steam rising from the pot, is a truly incredible feeling. After eating my fill, I grabbed my machete and headed downstairs. The temperature had plummeted and the snow was coming down hard. The zombies wandering the streets seemed to have decreased in number significantly. In a situation like this, it becomes incredibly advantageous for me to ambush the lone stragglers. After heading down, I moved quickly. I hunted down 10 zombies in total. But today, my luck was a bit better than usual. Those 10 zombies weren't just empty corpses. They were carrying a crystal core. Just as I was planning to keep the slaughter going, a series of guttural roars erupted nearby. One after another, they joined in. They seemed to be drawn in by the scent, that thick, metallic smell of fresh blood. Seeing that the situation was turning south, I didn't stick around. I immediately slipped away and corrected my course. I made a beeline straight back to my house. Once inside, I reviewed my experience in killing zombies. I can feel my strength and physical condition reaching new heights. I'm still in a state of explosive growth. Even without consuming crystal cores, I can improve through physical training and exercise. Combat training is the key. I need to continuously build my own strength. So, I'll save today's zombie crystal core for my other self back in the city. That 100-kilogram body of mine is a bit too obese. I need to improve my physical condition over there, whether it's myself in this wasteland or myself living in the modern city. I need the ability to protect myself. My combat experience should be easy to apply directly to that body. As long as I improve its physical fitness, it's time to get to work. No more excuses. I immediately stored that zombie crystal core inside my mind space. Right now, the lady of the house is one of the people facing this sickness. Suddenly, a knock at the door echoed through the room again. After saying that, I went ahead and tucked that crystal core away. It sat safely within my mind space. Right at that very moment, another sudden knock sounded at the door. Sister, what is it? What's wrong? It's me, Ju Cece. I looked through the peephole to be sure. Only Ju Cece was standing outside the door. She still had that same look. Moving, charming, and completely out of the ordinary. What are you here for? Brother Lee, I don't have enough food this time. I want to trade for some. She was here again. Ju Cece held a jewelry box and a piece of jade in her hand. My eyes widened. Like saucers. Even the worst of it looked valuable. Crystal violets worth over $1 million were sitting right there. A whole million. Plus emeralds, top-tier red jade, and a pile of 8-kilogram pink diamonds. Come in. I opened the door and pulled Jusisi inside, telling her, I want all of this. I can give you a week's worth of food. Thank you. After Jusisi left, I began my physical training. It was time for my cycle planning. The combination of crystal cores, from zombies and intense physical training. This is the rarest way to complete the cycle that I could think of to improve. I pushed myself. I trained for 3 full hours. I was completely exhausted. Then I ate a massive meal and went to sleep. At 7:30 in the morning, my modern world self opened my eyes in bed with a single thought. The new zombie crystal core, smelling like fragrant rice, was pulled out from my mind space. Starting today, I went on a diet. I summoned my courage and grabbed the zombie crystal core. 10 seconds later, a burning heat surged from deep within my chest. It flooded through every single one of my limbs. Once again, a desperate, agonizing pain took over my entire body. I felt like I was being torn apart. My naturally obese body began to bulge with thick blue veins. My face twisted in agony as the pressure grew. It reached a point where even my feet turned blood red. It was unbearable. I was enduring a level of pain that no living soul should survive. Right then, the fat across my entire body began to react. It started burning away frantically, transforming into a massive surge of power. The very pain my body was suffering through provided an incredible amount of resources. Pure energy flooded me, forcing my cellular metabolism into overdrive. Despite the torture, I didn't let myself black out. I endured every second of it with sheer willpower. 2 hours later, the intensity finally dropped by half. The pain slowly began to fade away. My entire body. I was completely drenched in a mix of grease and sweat. Did I make it? Is it finally over? A sudden sense of rebirth flooded my heart. My original body, the one that used to be so clumsy and heavy, suddenly felt incredibly light. I found a scale nearby to check my progress. 170 gene. That meant I was 30 gene lighter than my last weigh-in. It turns out a zombie core is the ultimate weight loss secret. A single core burned off 30 gene instantly. Of course, at 170 gene, I was still technically obese, but that wasn't the point. I looked much better than before. I had visibly slimmed down. And unlike other people who lose weight too fast, I didn't have any sagging skin at all. Instead, my skin felt tighter and firmer. I looked good. I changed my clothes, feeling like a completely different person. I looked radiant, even if I was still a bit on the heavy side. But the contours of my face were finally visible again. I was reclaiming my old looks. I closed my eyes and checked the storage space inside my mind. Sure enough, it had grown much larger, reaching nearly 3 meters in cubic volume. This meant I could finally stock up on more supplies. If the space kept expanding, maybe I could eventually carry large equipment. It was just as I predicted. My body in the apocalypse and this one are linked. I can increase the capacity of my storage simply by consuming zombie cores. The evolution affects both of my worlds equally. I tidied myself up and headed downstairs to a breakfast shop. I was absolutely starving. Early that morning, I devoured 8 bowls of ramen and 3 bowls of fruit. I washed it down with egg wine, a Coke, and several bottles of water, along with 3 orders of fried dough and a bowl of soup. The people in the shop just stared at me, completely stunned. Who eats that much for breakfast? I recognized one of them. It was Juan. He used to be the top heartthrob of Gianda, a real looker. Back in those days, I remember several older female students chasing after him. I never expected him to look like this now. It seems Li Xian and Feng Zishuan broke up. I heard people talking about it in the alumni group. Actually, I used to have a bit of a crush on Li Xian myself. I thought Feng Zishuan was so lucky. She had a literal god like Li Xian taking such good care of her. But today, seeing Li Xian in this state, I feel like my dream is over, completely shattered. Yes, time is cruel. Time is like a knife, a butcher's blade. It's a shame. He and his current self really don't measure up to Feng Zishuan anymore. She still has that delicate look. They walked past the breakfast shop, whispering things about Li Xian and his fall from grace. Their voices were low, but I heard every single word clearly. It's funny how people only care once you've fallen from grace. I had to admit, my weight loss results weren't exactly instant. Just a few days ago, it seemed like nobody could even believe that I was actually Li Xian. If I lose another 30 pounds, I'll finally be back to my normal shape. The zombie core's effects are powerful, but they can only do so much. The rest of the work is entirely up to me. I need to make time to go buy a membership card. A gym membership. I'll hit the weights and lift for 2 hours a day to burn off this fat without an issue. That way, I won't raise any suspicions. Today's real task is buying a car. Having my own wheels will make everything easier, especially when it comes to hauling supplies. I finished my breakfast and focused on my next move. I couldn't afford to be dependent on anyone else. I opened the app to see what I was dealing with. Cars. I was finally going to buy a car. I already owned 128 houses. Naturally, I needed a dozen cars to fill those garages. I wanted options: Porsche, Maserati, Bentley. I'll pay in full. Swipe the card. Right away, sir. The smile on the salesman's face became blindingly bright. I paid the balance and signed the contract. I picked the plate and got the temporary tags. I got behind the wheel of my brand new Rolls-Royce Phantom. I drove out of the dealership feeling the rush of adrenaline. Pure luxury. As I was leaving, the saleswoman leaned in close and discreetly handed me her WeChat contact info. She whispered it softly. Mr. Li, You can call me whenever you need. Anything at all. If the car has any issues, just contact me. They all want a piece of me now that I'm spending. It's funny how money changes everything, even when the world is ending. It was 7 in the evening when I pulled up to the restaurant. The place was called Swansea, and I ordered a massive feast just for myself. I wasn't going to settle for anything less than 30 of their most delicious dishes. I even ordered a whole roasted suckling pig. The entire spread cost me 8,000 yuan. But looking around, the restaurant's business didn't seem to be doing very well. Even though it was the peak hour for dinner, there were only 2 or 3 tables occupied by customers in the whole place. Meanwhile, a trendy influencer restaurant nearby was packed to the brim every single day. People would wait over 2 hours just to eat there. In this same prosperous area, Swansea's business was terribly cold and quiet. Compared to the lively, bustling scene at the restaurant next door, it was a stark contrast. What's going on here? I tasted the food. The presentation and the flavor were both incredible. The quality was top tier, authentic and genuine. They mastered everything from Shanghainese to Sichuan cuisine. Cantonese, Shandong, they had it all. Every single bite was delicious. The prices were a bit high, but the location was perfect. The atmosphere and the layout were spot on. The service was great, and the flavor was even better. Absolute first-class quality. So why was business so dead? I didn't understand the cutthroat world of the restaurant industry, but that didn't stop me from loving these dishes. I really liked this place. In fact, I thought about just buying Swansea outright. I could have them prepare all my meals for me. That way, I wouldn't have to order takeout so often. It was the best option I'd seen. Besides, it's not like I lacked the money. This would actually save me time. I could send the food back to my other self in the apocalypse. I'd have a professional chef cooking whatever I wanted to eat. Now that sounds delicious. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Buying this place would make getting supplies so much easier. I'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Waiter, call your boss over. Please, sir, is there something wrong? Is there a problem with the food? If you're unsatisfied with anything, you can tell me. Tell me directly. The food is fine. I just need to speak with your boss, please. Understood. A few moments later, the owner of Swansea arrived. His name was Sanchio Biao, a 39-year-old family man. He had a face that looked like it was carved from solid muscle. He was a burly guy, and honestly, he seemed pretty cool. He had spent his entire life working in the industry. He started at 17 and eventually became a big name. He became his own boss, opened a small place, and made a fortune. Then his ambition grew, and he invested $3 million into the market. 2 years ago, in the year 2000, he opened this restaurant. It was his pride and joy, a relatively luxurious establishment. But as it turned out, the business was fading fast. The market crashed, and in just 2 hours, he nearly lost everything he had built over the years. He was stripped down to his last cent, drowning in debt. The house was bled dry, and if business didn't improve soon, he wouldn't even be able to pay his employees' salaries next month. On top of that, the rent for the entire next year was coming due. His life looked bleak, and he feared he'd have to shut down immediately. He even worried his wife would leave him after all they'd been through. For months, he had been desperately looking for someone to take over. He wanted out, but he wasn't happy with the lowball offers the potential buyers were throwing at him. He was in a terrible mood and didn't expect to deal with a customer who was looking for trouble. It felt like misfortunes really do never come alone. Sir, is there something about the food that didn't satisfy you? Sanchao Biao asked patiently. After all, he was a professional in the service industry. Are you the boss here? I asked. I told him I was actually quite satisfied with the meal and with his restaurant in general. I just wanted to ask if the rumors were true. Is this restaurant really for sale? I told him I wanted to buy the whole place. Yes, I said, just give me it. Price. Sanchao Biao felt a surge of hope. He hesitated for a moment, weighing his options. Then he gave me a price he thought we could negotiate from. In his head, his absolute minimum was 1.5 million. If I could even hit that floor, he was ready to sell immediately. That cheap? I asked, looking around. The location of this restaurant was prime real estate. The interior design was beautiful and high-end. Between the waiters, reception, and chefs, he had over 30 staff members. But more importantly, the health and management systems were solid. The service and the food were both top tier. Selling a place like this for only a few million shouldn't have been a problem at all. There was nothing else to be done. You've seen for yourself that business isn't exactly booming. That's the truth, and there's no point in trying to hide it. Is that all right? I didn't even bother to haggle. I closed the deal at 2 million. Besides, the moment I returned to that apocalyptic world, I could just walk into a jewelry store and collect way more than 2 million. Wait, I already bought it. Sanchao Biao stood there, completely stunned. Can business really be done this fast? For the average customer, the prices here weren't affordable, which is why business was slow. Very well, I'm offering you a good job with a high salary of 50,000. But I'm afraid I don't have the ability to manage the rest. Old Sen sighed. Being a chef is one thing, but managing a high-end restaurant is a bit beyond my reach. But if you ask me about the 8 great cuisines, I'm an expert in all of them, Sanchao Biao said with a hesitant look. He clearly didn't have any confidence left in himself. Running this restaurant well was a distant memory, and he'd lost the fire he had when he first opened the doors. He looked completely unsure of his next move. But I didn't care if the business was successful or not. In fact, it didn't matter at all. I bought this place just to have my own private dining room. A personal sanctuary. That was the only operational goal for this establishment. This restaurant exists solely to serve me, to provide the best food whenever I need it. Whatever dish I crave must be prepared immediately. From now on, your only job is to master the national cuisine. I don't care about profits. I'm not looking for pocket change. I patted San Xiao Biao on the shoulder with a look of total ease. I was completely indifferent to the bottom line. This place is just here to satisfy my own appetite. Damn, is this really how the ultra-rich think? We still have over 30 employees on the payroll here. That's over 200,000 yuan in salaries every single month. Running at a total loss? Who could possibly sustain that? All right, boss, I get it, he said. What happens from here on out? I told him if he had any issues, he could call a doctor. Whatever I need, the entire Zhuangzi restaurant will be there. They will do everything in their power to satisfy my demands. I ordered every single dish on the menu, noticing his movements had slowed down. Success requires the right home and harmony between people. This kind of opportunity doesn't just fall into your lap. It isn't always available when you want it. I soon found myself getting irritated with the woman's attitude. Then, I encountered the first zombie of the shift. I killed it without hesitation. My axe was a blur of speed. Precise and ruthless, I struck like a man who had never left the fight. A burly, hulking zombie lunged at me. I dropped it instantly. I searched the corpse, but I didn't find a single crystal core. Suddenly, I sensed an ambush. I moved decisively to take down the second zombie. I finished the second one off just as quickly. The zombie was dead, but it didn't have one either. No crystal core, not on the third one, not on the fourth. The fifth one was empty too. Finally, I took down the sixth zombie. I finally pulled a crystal core from its skull. I started to notice a pattern among these monsters. The ones with crystal cores seem to be smarter than the rest. They move faster, and their claws are much sharper. Aside from those lethal upgrades, they look just like the ordinary ones. You need a sharp eye to spot the difference. I have to be extremely careful to distinguish them. For now, I'll call the ones without cores ordinary zombies. They're just mindless husks wandering the streets. But the ones carrying crystal cores? I'll classify them as level 1 zombies. Having figured out the hierarchy, I moved toward the city center. I dedicated myself entirely to hunting down level 1s. My efficiency in the field skyrocketed immediately. I realized that focused hunting was exactly what I needed. Level 1 zombies are usually surrounded by several ordinary ones. Taking them down often requires dealing with the whole pack at once. To get to a level 1, I frequently have to dive right into the middle of them. I find myself facing off against 3 or 5 zombies at a time. It's like fighting an enemy that doesn't even belong to your species. Taking on 5 of them simultaneously is no small feat. But the freezing weather is working in my favor. They wear thin, tattered clothes that leave their skin exposed to the frost. The cold makes their movements incredibly sluggish. This gives me the perfect opening to do my work efficiently. Failure isn't an option, especially when I'm cornered by a group. I focused and tore through all 5 zombies. With every kill, I felt more confident in my own strength. My combat experience is growing, and my battle speed is reaching new heights. The time it takes me to put a zombie down keeps shrinking. After 2 weeks in this Hell's Cape, I've become a different man. In just a few hours today, I've already slaughtered 36 of them. Among those were 5 level 1 zombies. I reached into the gore and pulled out 5 new cores. 5 more zombie crystal cores added to my collection. The scent of these shadow crystal cores is like rice. It attracts other zombies far too easily. The smell is impossible to hide, but as long as I store them in my space, the scent is completely blocked, so I don't have to worry about being tracked. Otherwise, I'd find myself under a constant zombie siege. Hey brother, you've got skills. We've been watching you for a while now. Taking out 35 zombies alone? You must be a mature level 1 evolver. The voice came from behind me. Interested in joining my team? I had just finished off the last zombie when a group emerged from the shadows of the houses. A team of 5 people approached me from a distance, taking their time. The group consisted of 3 men and 2 women, led by a massive, burly man. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, his sheer size felt incredibly oppressive. The other 4 were just as agile, their eyes sharp and piercing. In this apocalypse, anyone strolling calmly down the street isn't an ordinary survivor. Let me introduce myself. I'm San Xian. I'm a level 2 strength evolver. The guy in the sunglasses is Lao Jing. His aim is deadly accurate. He was once a champion marksman in the special forces. And the redhead, his name is Hong Mao, and he's an evolver. A level 1 fire type, specifically. He extended his right hand toward me without a word. A blue flame flickered into existence right in his palm. The heat was scorching, yet he controlled it with ease. My pupils constricted. I was genuinely stunned. I thought I was the only one who had awakened special abilities. But it makes perfect sense. If I can awaken powers by devouring zombie crystal cores, then naturally, others can do the exact same thing. I'm not the only protagonist in this world. This wasteland is far more dangerous than I imagined. A chill ran down my spine as San Qian continued his introductions. As for these 2 beauties, the one on the left in white, her name is Nanhai. She's a level 1 water type. Her attack power is low, but she can summon bubbles of pure water. In this dying world, she's the team's lifeline. Almost all the water on Earth has been ruined, contaminated by acid rain, and completely undrinkable. Looking at her, it's obvious how vital her water summoning skill is. She is the backbone of this entire team. Then there's the beauty dressed in all black. Her name is Anjing, and just like me, she's an evolver. She's level 2, with a speed ratio of 1:1. Lethally fast and incredibly dangerous. Sanxian pulled out a piece of ham sausage that hadn't rotted yet. In this life, it's a rare treasure. I took the half he offered me. I stared at that ham, forcing an expression of tearful gratitude. But instead of eating it, I immediately turned around. I held out the half sausage and offered it to Anjing. Boss Anjing, a humble servant like me doesn't deserve this honor. A delicacy like this should only be enjoyed by someone of your rank. Please, would you do me the favor of eating it first? I told myself, I just joined this group. I need to play the part. How could I possibly enjoy such a luxury? She looked at me and smirked. You're a very understanding guy, aren't you? Keep this up, and I'll remember you when things get ugly. If you're ever in danger, I might just step in to help. Anjing took the half sausage from my hand and finished it in one bite. Moni hid her portion carefully, like it was a treasure she'd saved for years. Most people would have bolted it down on the spot. That little interaction showed me exactly how this apocalypse works. Just how desperate are people for basic supplies. The competition for survival is brutal, and I knew it was only going to get more intense from here. Anjing finally gave the order. Let's start scavenging for materials. We split up now, and in 2 hours. We meet back at this exact spot. That's when we'll divide the haul. She reminded us that the old rules still apply. 30% of everything we find goes straight to the company. The remaining 70% stays with the team. I made my way into the nearby jewelry store. I started picking through the displays piece by piece, grabbing every scrap of gold jewelry I could find. This was the largest jewelry shop in the entire history of this neighborhood. In this world, gold jewelry is the one thing I value most. I stepped inside and easily started clearing out the cases. I counted no less than 200 pieces worth millions back in my world. Then I spotted it, a heavy safe tucked in the corner. I didn't need a key. I just forced the door open with raw strength. Inside, the haul was even better than I imagined. I was looking at no fewer than 50 solid gold bars. Each one was stamped with a weight of 1,000 grams. Damn, these gold bricks were the real deal. The value of this gold alone was easily over 20 million. I swept every single bar into my storage space instantly. It felt like a total jackpot. In this frozen wasteland, nobody wants this stuff anyway. To them, it's just heavy, useless metal. To me, it's a fortune waiting to be cashed in. After finishing my sweep of the jewelry store, I started making my way back to the group. 2 hours had passed when I reached the designated meeting point. I arrived with a backpack slung over my shoulder to keep up appearances. The rest of the team was already starting to gather. Hashio-ken, Han Mao, and Lao Tse were waiting. Then Jing and Njing appeared, completing the group. Han Mao and Lao Chin Pai stepped forward. They looked defeated as they each pulled out 3 crystal cores. We searched through 2 supermarkets this time, and hit 3 small shops on top of that. But we couldn't find a single scrap of food. We only managed to kill 20 zombies. In total, we only got 6 crystal cores. Each of them handed over 1 core as their tax. Then Njing spoke up. I killed 5 zombies and got 5 cores. And I also found this. She reached into her bag and pulled out a pack of instant noodles. 5 crystal cores and a pack of noodles. Not a bad haul. But honestly, it was exactly what I expected. Njing is an evolved level 3 fighter. She has the training and the power to operate alone. What she gathered in just 2 hours proved her strength was legit. With her speed advantage, she can move through the ruins much faster than the others. Her efficiency is on a completely different level. Jing and I killed 50 zombies in total, Hashio-ken added. We walked away with 10 zombie crystal cores, and we found a pack of sunflower seeds. Yang pulled out the 10 cores and the pack of seeds. For those 2 former lawyers, hunting is no longer a struggle at this stage. Taking down ordinary or level 1 zombies is a breeze, so they can always scrape together a few cores. But finding actual food is the real nightmare. It makes sense. The supermarkets have been picked bone dry by now. Then Sam Key turned to me. By the way, what did you manage to find? I hadn't been looking for zombie cores at all. I told them I'd just stopped by a jewelry store. The Falujuan jewelry shop, to be exact. On a whim, I decided to break into their main safe. I went in expecting a massive haul. I thought it'd be stuffed with gold, but guess what? The jewelry store safe was packed with food. It caught me completely off guard. That old fox was clever enough to hide supplies in there. I opened my backpack while I finished the story. My bag was bulging, looking much heavier than theirs. It was stuffed to the brim. I pulled out 30 ham sausages. Then came 6 cups of instant noodles. But the real prize was even better. A 5-kilogram bag of rice. Finding fresh rice in Mexico City these days is a miracle. Being able to have a real, healthy meal? That's pure luxury. Rice is worth its weight in gold now. This haul of ingredients left all 5 of them standing there with their jaws on the floor. That's too clever, one of them muttered. How did I not think someone would hide food inside a jewelry store safe? Damn it, those old foxes are too damn sneaky. Damn it, that's a hell of a haul you got there. I have to admit, I completely overlooked that move. But now that I've seen it with my own eyes, we aren't letting a single jewelry store safe slip past us again. Li Xian, according to the rules, you keep 30% of the food you scavenged. The other 70% has to be turned over to the team. I looked at the pile making up that 70%. See if there's anything you want to trade for. Zhang Chong said, holding up a gold bracelet as an example. I can work with that. Can I use these ingredients to trade for zombie crystal cores? I didn't actually know the exchange rate. I had no idea how much food it took to get one crystal. I asked the question while feigning caution. 2 cups of instant noodles can be traded for 1 crystal core. 3 ham sausages will get you one as well. Or you can trade 1 kilogram of rice for a single core. When Zhang Chong finished speaking, the others fell silent. My teammates immediately felt the captain was being way too ruthless. If it were up to them, they'd trade a single cup of noodles for a core too. But the captain's exchange rate was on a whole different level. Zhang Chong really is a shark. He devours people whole without spitting out the bones. Everyone knows that for an awakened, getting crystal cores isn't the hard part. The real struggle is finding enough food to sustain the transformation. Without a steady supply of calories to fuel the body's evolution, the energy required for the process simply isn't there. And when that happens, a violent, gnawing hunger takes over. I hesitated for a moment before pulling out another zombie crystal core. As soon as I consumed it, that familiar burning sensation crawled through my veins. This time, the feeling lasted for less than a minute. I needed more. Now, I repeated the process over and over again. I began eating frantically, shoving food into my mouth. I tore through the supplies I had stored in my subspace. By the time I had consumed 8 more zombie crystal cores, the storage space in my mind had expanded to 11 cubic meters. Suddenly, my body felt like it was vibrating with raw power. In that exact instant, a massive roar echoed through the air. A sudden surge of energy flooded my mind once again. My entire spirit shuddered as if I'd been struck by a bolt of lightning. Then, something incredible happened. A shimmering light flickered right in the palm of my hand. An unstable spatial blade manifested out of thin air. I could tell instantly that this blade was effortless to control. I sent it flying, and it sliced through the tempered glass like paper. It kept going until it hit a stone lion 10 meters away. The blade cut the massive statue clean in half. That solid concrete lion was as fragile as a block of tofu. The spatial blade was strange, invisible, and completely weightless. Even I was stunned by the sheer power of it. "Who's out there?" a voice shouted from the distance. The 5 awakened inside the villa had clearly sensed the commotion outside. They came rushing out of the building. They didn't waste a single second. Zhang Chong was leading the pack, charging ahead of the rest. All 5 of them stopped dead when they saw the stone lion. It sat there, sliced perfectly in 2. The cut was perfectly straight, right down the middle. The stone lion at the entrance. It was perfectly fine when we went inside, wasn't it? Zhang Chong's voice went high with panic. Something sliced it in half. Look at the edge. It's completely clean and smooth. It's like it didn't take any effort at all. If this thing hit our necks, I'm afraid we'd all be dead. Our lives would end in an instant. A level 3 ability user must have done this. Or maybe a level 3 evolved with a high-tier power. A spatial ability, most likely. Whatever the case, the implication was clear. A much more powerful evolved was lurking nearby. Xingyang's face turned pale instantly. As a level 2 evolved, he felt small. He was terrified of this unknown powerhouse. But I wondered, what was his real goal here? He was acting like a big fish trying to climb to the top. Why do this? Could it really be true? Maybe he's just proving that we aren't a threat to him. Either he's flaunting his power or he has some other motive. But what motive? I haven't seen a thing. I haven't even seen the person responsible. Xingyang searched frantically around the villa but found no one. Not even a shadow. A big fish like that is simply elusive. Without leaving a single trace, the opponent's strength was obvious. They were clearly far superior to anyone on our team. "Let's stop looking," Xingyang said. "If this opponent wanted us dead, he would have used that force to face us directly. I'm afraid not one of the 6 of us would have escaped. He likely doesn't have bad intentions. Maybe it's just a warning. By the way, where is Li Xian?" "Captain, it looks like Li Xian is gone. I had probably fainted from hunger somewhere. I had taken those zombie crystal cores earlier. But now, I was nowhere to be seen. I hadn't left myself any food, and now I was running on empty. The result was that I simply passed out. I was starving, just a pathetic rookie who didn't know his limits. It was almost laughable." "Give him some rice soup," Xingyang ordered. "We can't let the kid actually starve to death. Honestly, I think I have decent luck for a newcomer. I had already managed to find them so many ingredients. Maybe they'd actually start to like having me around. I was like a lucky charm they might actually need. Someone to keep close for the future." "On it, Captain." Su Qian and the 2 girls from the Shadow Squad got to work. They brought over 2 bowls of warm rice soup for me. After that, the 5 evolved members retreated. They headed back to their own private rooms. It was time to start consuming the blood cores. They had plenty of zombie crystal cores to go around. The problem wasn't the cores, it was the food. They didn't dare use the crystals unless their stomachs were full. Otherwise, the hunger pangs from the evolution process would be unbearable. But now that they were fed, they could focus on their growth. They wanted to make every single drop of energy count. The night of the apocalypse is incomparably dark. There isn't a single flicker of light left on the earth. Deep in the city, the occasional roar echoes through the silence. Zombies and mutant beasts prowl the streets like never before. The old days of luxury and nightlife are long gone. The darkness has become something terrifying and absolute. It feels like it could swallow the very will of those in power. The living are forced to keep fighting just to survive another hour. This is the reality of the world now. A world where everyone you love is at risk, where people vanish one after another into the shadows. Sometimes, just staying alive feels like a form of torture. At 9 in the morning, I finally woke up from my sleep. I focused my mind on a single thought. I reached into my storage space and pulled them out. All the gold jewelry and heavy gold bars I'd collected, along with 13 fresh zombie crystal cores. There was nothing else I could do with those monsters for now. Yesterday's haul had been massive. If I wasn't mistaken, my apocalyptic self was ready for a change. My apocalyptic self has likely already ascended to a level 3 ability user. If I hadn't reached that level, it would have been impossible. Impossible for a power like the blade skill to even be born. I need to step it up too. I grabbed my phone and headed out the door. I called San Xiaobiao, who answered immediately with, "Boss? Do you have orders?" he asked, and I told him, "Xiao-san, get ready. Prepare enough food for 100 people. I want fresh vegetables too. Fruit, rice, everything." I knew I should be saving people, but a question hung in the air. I looked at the situation and thought about the survivors. Why bother saving those useless cowards who won't even fight? Feeding them is nothing but a waste of good rice. We are a team of evolved warriors, not a charity for the weak. In this world, the useless are only there to help us survive. Those with no value deserve only one thing. They should be eliminated, San Xiaobiao said with a sneer. He looked at the survivors with pure contempt in his eyes. Zombie crystal cores, it seems they can do more than just power me up. Others can use them to become evolved humans too. I only reached this evolved state later on. It happened after I accidentally killed a high-tier threat. Lishuan must be the closest point to the city center. I realized that lacking the courage to act is a fatal mistake. You have to stand up and fight the zombies. That is the only way to evolve into a higher being. I looked toward the luxury shopping district. Before the apocalypse, this place was swarming with people. Now, it has become a massive breeding ground for the undead. A conservative estimate puts at least 1,000 zombies in this town. Ordinary survivors are nothing more than prey to them. No one dares to even get close to this area. Unless, of course, they are tired of living. Even the evolved warriors stay far away from the city. They avoid the Banxiang district like the plague. After all, I haven't heard of anyone strong enough to raid it. No evolved human has grown powerful enough to face an army alone. And it is highly likely that high-level zombies are lurking there. I watched a group of people who had turned into survivors in this city of 10,000 wonders. 6 of them were packed into a large van. After half an hour, they approached the heart of the city. The city of 10,000 wonders lay right before them. 6 evolved humans were working together as a unit. In a matter of minutes, they took down 2 targets. They showed no mercy to the dozens of threats that had plagued this land. Zombies were already being lured in by the noise of their vehicle. Some of the team members began skillfully harvesting crystal cores. One of them turned to their leader and called out, "Captain, are we really going to attack the city of 10,000 wonders? There are too many. The zombies here are everywhere. If by some chance we get surrounded by a horde, it's over. A fatal destiny is likely waiting for us," Sushio said. She looked at the captain with an expression of pure worry. The captain shot back, "Who told you we were going to attack the city head-on? There are so many zombies that a frontal assault is suicide. But we can clear them out in batches. We strike at different times, draining the swamp one drop at a time. If we hit them repeatedly, their numbers will naturally dwindle. The zombies inside are the real prize." Li Xian watched them from the shadows. The plan was simple: lure the monsters out, lure the zombies away. Pull a few dozen at a time, then we take the position. We use the high ground to set up an ambush. If we do this 100 or 200 times, the infestation will break. The zombies will naturally be wiped out. From what I could see, the city of 10,000 wonders had always been a death trap. It was occupied by massive hordes that kept other survivors far away. There had to be a mountain of supplies hidden inside. As long as we clear that city, we'll be set for life. San Qian analyzed the situation with grim determination. "But Captain, why do I have to be the bait? I just became an awakened. My powers are still weak and unstable. Going into that city to lure them out, it's too dangerous. I'm not going." Qian shook his head, putting on a show of fake terror. This San Qian was a total scoundrel. If I hadn't reached level 2 as an ability user, I wouldn't even consider this. Luring those monsters out is a suicide mission, and I'm not looking to die today. I looked at him and thought, it seems you really do have a death wish. I kept my thoughts to myself as San Qian stepped closer. "Your strength is clearly lacking," San Qian barked. "That's exactly why you need the exercise." He wasn't going to wait much longer. This captain wasn't negotiating. "This is an order. You can choose not to go," he said coldly. "But you will have to live with the consequences. Think very carefully before you give me your answer." San Qian tightened his grip on his heavy club. The metal spikes on the weapon gleamed, making his point for him. It was a blatant threat. If I didn't go, he'd bash my head in right here. "Big brother, I'll go? I'll go? Isn't that enough?" I cried out. Sensing the killing intent in the air, I immediately put on an act of total surrender. I looked reluctant and terrified, playing the part of a man with no choice. In his eyes, I was a weakling forced to do his bidding. I made sure to look like a coward who was scared to death of a little danger. San Qian looked satisfied, convinced he had me under his thumb. A man who adapts to his circumstances is an exceptional man. As teammates, we naturally have to obey the captain's orders. Luring monsters is dangerous, but it's the job. Risk and reward always go hand in hand. As long as you're the one catching these zombies, I'll give you 20% of the cores we harvest. I give you my word I won't go back on that deal. Once we conquer Banxiang City, we'll have more supplies than we can carry. Survival rations, gear, everything a man needs. And you'll get your 20% cut of all of it. With that many energy cores, you'll be set for life. Zombie crystals and survivor supplies are the only currency that matters now. I'm telling you, being part of today's mission is a massive honor. This haul will help you ascend to a level 2 evolver in no time. You don't want to keep running in circles at your current level, do you? Don't you want to see yourself get stronger? Or would you rather just let life pass you by? Do you really want to spend every single day starving? I'm telling you this because I have faith in your potential. Besides, those zombies don't even run that fast, especially for an evolver. Can't you run faster than a pack of clumsy zombies? San Qian's talent for promising the impossible is impressive, but obviously it's all a lie. If I were still just a level 1 evolver, I'd probably be walking straight into a death trap. There are likely level 3 zombies lurking inside Banxiang City. If a level 2 zombie sets its sights on you, how is a level 1 supposed to survive? He's basically sending me to my grave. But luckily, I already ascended to level 2 yesterday. I'm officially a level 2 ability user now, and I even awakened a Space Blade. It's incredibly powerful, my new trump card. San Qian has no idea. So who's really playing who here? That's still very much undecided. Brother Chong, Xiao Qian, Shadow Sister, Brother Danger, Red, Brother Eagle, they're all in the dark. Don't worry, I guarantee I'll complete the mission. Let's work together. For the sake of our bright future. I raised my machete high. Then, I walked toward Banxiang City without a single hint of hesitation. The wind howled, and the river waters grew cold. A chilling atmosphere settled over the wasteland. Like a warrior embarking on a journey from which he might never return, I marched forward with the spirit of a man facing 10,000 enemies alone. My figure gradually faded from the sight of the other evolvers. Captain, isn't what we're doing a little immoral? Eagle Eye spoke up, his voice lacking its usual confidence. According to my scans of Banxiang City, a level 3 zombie king has likely already been born there, and there are probably no fewer than 20 level 2 zombies lurking in the shadows. That kid Li Xian is definitely going to die. He's just going to end up attracting more monsters to himself. Eagle Eye's tone shifted as he spoke. His face was a mask of hollow regret. Eagle Eye wasn't just a master of special weapons. After the apocalypse, he had awakened a unique human ability, an ocular power that worked through zombie crystal cores. He could scout everything within a 5-kilometer radius. He could spot danger long before it ever arrived. In a team, a scout like that is worth his weight in gold. He was the reason they had survived so many sudden ambushes. It doesn't matter, the captain said coldly. The life of a common level 1 evolver is a small price to pay. We can always find another pawn like him. My only goal is the level 2 cores inside the city. Once you reach level 3, you'll realize how useless level 1 cores are. No matter how many you swallow, you'll never break through. But with 10 level 2 cores, reaching level 3 is actually possible. I'm only 3 cores away from my goal. For the sake of this team, some sacrifices are simply inevitable. Eagle Eye, keep your eyes locked on that brat Li Xian. If he even thinks about running, kill him on the spot. If he lures out the level 3 zombie king, we'll make our move. And if things go south, we leave him behind and run. I knew exactly what they were thinking. Sell me out the moment things got messy. If I only managed to lure out a few level 2 or level 3 zombies, I was expendable. They planned to carry out the ambush according to their original, cold-blooded script. It was clear that San Chong had already calculated every possible contingency. His zombie ambush plan could be adjusted at any moment to suit his greed. To him, my life wasn't worth a dime, and I could be traded away in a heartbeat. Since I was the new guy, I hadn't built any real bond with the rest of the team. Selling me was easy, but San Chong's total disregard for his men didn't go unnoticed. The others stayed silent on the surface, but I could see the doubt in their eyes. Deep down, their loyalty to a man like that had to be paper thin. If he could throw me to the wolves today, who would be next? This wasn't a team. It was just a temporary alliance held together by selfish interests. The moment I stepped into the city of 10,000 images, the air changed. Dozens of zombies caught my scent almost instantly. They smelled fresh meat and began a frenzied charge toward my position. Among the pack, one younger zombie stood out from the rest. He was incredibly agile, moving like a flickering black shadow across the pavement. His running speed was enough to put any world-class athlete to shame. He was a blur of rotting flesh and terrifying momentum. He was easily clearing 100 meters in less than 8 seconds. What the hell is this? Can zombies really run this fast? I realized the situation was turning south and immediately bolted. I turned to escape, even though that level 2 zombie was moving at a terrifying speed. But I wasn't exactly slow either. After consuming 8 zombie cores yesterday, my physical fitness had been boosted to a whole new level. It was honestly reaching a point that felt superhuman. I now possessed speed that would crush any Olympic athlete. Clearing 100 meters in 8 seconds? I could do that with ease. I sprinted at full throttle, weaving through the area like a ghost. As I ran, I made sure to scream at the top of my lungs. Brother, save me. There are level 2 zombies. There are level 2 zombies everywhere. My desperate cries for help echoed throughout the entire neighborhood. Sanchong and his men immediately shifted their focus toward the noise. They watched as I came barreling out from the entrance of the city of 10,000 images. Right on my heels were 3 level 2 zombies. Their eyes locked onto me with murderous intent. And behind them, a massive horde of over 100 level 1 zombies was swarming out like a relentless tide of death. Over 300 common zombies in total. They were all chasing after me like a pack of rabid dogs. The 3 level 2 zombies were practically on top of me. They were barely 2 meters away at any given moment. But no matter how hard they tried, they just couldn't close the gap. The sharp claws of those monsters kept slashing through the air. I dodged every single swipe with calculated precision, narrowly escaping death time and time again. Captain, look, there are 3 level 2 shadows. One of Sanchong's men shouted, spotting the threat, and at least 300 level 1 zombies. The common horde was massive. The numbers are high, but we stick to the original plan. The zombie king hasn't shown his face yet, so we move. Focus our fire first. We need to clear the path. Wipe out those 3 level 2 zombies immediately. Then we deal with the remaining low-level trash. We'll pick them off slowly once the big threats are gone. Suddenly, a flash of light caught everyone's eye. A brilliant, deep blue flame ignited in the darkness. A blue flame flickered to life in Hong Mao's hand. He hurled it straight toward the 3 level 2 zombies chasing me. His aim was slightly off, though. The 3 monsters managed to dodge the blast, but the explosion still worked to slow them down. The charge of those 3 level 2 zombies was broken. Right at that moment, the sniper rifle that Eagle had been readying finally roared to life. One shot, one soul, a perfect, instantaneous headshot. The bullet tore through the air with lethal precision. It dropped one of the level 2 zombies on the spot. Then, Captain Sanchong and Shadow joined the fray. They threw themselves instantly into the heat of the battlefield. Those two were a fierce combat duo with top-tier gear. Sanchong swung a massive spiked mace that looked like it was forged from the earth itself. With one heavy swing, he shattered a level 2 zombie's arm. How many hits would it take? He finished the level 2 monster off in seconds. His spiked mace carries the weight of a dozen heavy strikes. The impact crushed the monster into a pulp. He was an immovable wall, one man holding the gate against 10,000. He fought with the raw courage of a titan. Shadow moved even faster, a blur that seemed to outrun light itself. He was leagues quicker than those level 2 zombies. He struck from a blind angle, using a technique that looked impossibly complex. His blade sank deep into the level 2 zombie's temple. The kill was almost instantaneous. Just like that, all 3 level 2 zombies were wiped out. The remaining level 1 and level 2 monsters stood no chance. The common ones were even worse off. They couldn't survive a single hit from Sanchong's mace. The team of 5 evolved warriors stood firm at the exit of the path. They blocked the alleyway like hunters trapping animals. Because the space was so narrow, the zombies couldn't use their numbers to overwhelm us. At most, only 3 or 5 could attack at once. It wasn't a fight anymore. It was a total massacre. 1 hour later, the results were in. Over 300 zombies had been wiped out. My team of evolved warriors had secured 3 level 2 cores. They also gathered 100 level 1 cores. By any standard, this was a massive haul. The 5 of them were exhausted, while I just sat back snacking on melon seeds. Right then, Sanchong looked over at me. He realized my luck was bordering on the impossible. I had even managed to survive, being chased by 3 level 2 monsters. Or maybe they were level 3. Could it be that I was hiding something? Was I concealing my true strength? Suspicion immediately began to take root in his heart. Li Xian, you did a great job keeping their attention, he said. He watched me closely as he spoke. This wave was a huge success for our research mission. A great harvest. I'll be the one keeping these zombie cores safe for now. I'll keep them all together for now, and once we're back, I'll distribute your shares. Eat something to get your strength back. We're only resting for a few minutes. Actually, make it 30 minutes. Then, Li Xian and B, you're going back out to lure more monsters. Sanchong pulled instant noodles and ham from the car. He gave everyone a pack, acting unusually generous after pocketing those 3 cores. Those level 2 cores were his ticket to something bigger once he got home. Today was his best shot at finally evolving to the next stage. While the others ate, he obsessed over his plan for total control. He had been secretly hoarding a massive stash of personal supplies on the side. He had more than enough resources to force his own ascension. Once he reached that new level of growth, everything would be easier to manage. As a level 3 evolved human, he would be unstoppable. He'd be fully qualified to establish his own survivor base. Suddenly, a massive shadow loomed. It wasn't just big, it was pure muscle. Rotting flesh and decay covered every inch of its hulking frame. Its entire body looked like a solid block of destruction. Its skin was as hard as tempered steel. It shimmered with a strange, dark radiance. A metallic glint flashed off its blue fangs, looking absolutely feral. This is bad, Captain, one of them shouted. Li Xian had actually brought a level 3 zombie king right to us. Every zombie in the area is rioting, one of the men screamed. His face was cast in a shadow of pure terror. Run, get out of here now. Get in the car. Captain, it's bad. The ignition isn't catching. Our vehicle was dead. It wouldn't start no matter how much he cranked it. What the hell was happening? Did someone sabotage us? Someone had definitely tampered with the engine. Sanchong's face went pale instantly, his usual cockiness vanishing. The situation was too urgent to stand around and play detective. He didn't have a single second left to stop and think. Captain, it's too late. The horde is already on top of us. Everyone, get ready. Prepare to fight. Damn you, Li Xian, I'm going to kill you for this. You absolute son of a bitch. Who told you to lead them here? You brought a level 3 zombie king to our doorstep. Damn your soul. Just wait until I settle the score with you later. Sanchong was livid, but I had already led the entire horde to their feet, but I was moving way too fast for any of them to catch. It was as if I had awakened a high-level speed evolution. My level 1 speed was already matching his pace. He was a level 2 evolution, but he wasn't worth a dime to me now. Kill them, Sanchong roared. He hoisted his spiked mace and swung it with a sudden, violent force. He slammed it directly into the level 3 zombie king charging toward them. Clang! The impact of that massive strength echoed through the air. The shockwave was so intense it sank the concrete floor 2 centimeters deep. The level 3 zombie king threw up its arm to shield its body. It came out completely unscathed, the hit sounding like metal striking metal. Instead, Sanchong was the one reeling from the sheer recoil. The vibration nearly ripped the mace from his hands and tore his palms open. The king wasn't finished. Enraged by the stinging pain, the zombie lashed out with a brutal slap. The blow caught Sanchong squarely and sent him flying through the air. He hit the ground hard, instantly coughing up a mouthful of blood. Right then, Shadow used his speed advantage to circle the monster. He went for a cheap shot, stabbing the zombie right in the rear. The zombie king went ballistic, losing what little mind it had left. With one backhand, it swatted Shadow away like a fly. Eagle opened fire, but the situation had turned into a total bloodbath. The tide of battle shifted the second the door was breached. Eagle watched as Sanchong and Shadow struggled to pin the level 3 king down. He waited for the perfect opening to take a clean shot. His sniper rifle roared, firing instantly. The bullet struck the zombie king's head with surgical precision. It tore through the monster's left eye and vanished into the skull. The bullet was lodged deep inside the socket. Even a direct shot to the brain didn't kill it. The defensive power of a level 3 zombie is truly terrifying. I thought to myself, it's a shame I don't have a Barrett heavy sniper in my hands right now. Eagle was only using a light sniper rifle. A heavy sniper would have ended that king's life in a single shot. In that moment, Sanchong forced himself back up from the ground. He gripped his spiked mace once more and swung it with everything he had. He aimed straight for the wounded zombie. The sheer force of the impact was immense. He poured every ounce of his strength into the blow. The strike successfully shattered one of the zombie king's legs. Red Hair didn't hesitate and began condensing a fireball in his palm. Meanwhile, a ball of pressurized water began to form beside it. The fire rained down. It landed directly behind the zombie king with a massive boom. The explosive flames sealed off the exit. The alleyway was now a death trap. At that exact moment, Red Hair pulled out 3 containers. He hurled the gasoline cans into the fray. Boom! The air ignited instantly. The 3 canisters detonated in a chain reaction. The gasoline triggered a violent eruption of heat. A massive flare erupted, consuming everything. The alley was perfectly transformed into a sea of fire. I watched, stunned, realizing I had underestimated him. I hadn't given Red Hair enough credit. Combining his fireball ability with those gasoline cans was genius. The resulting power was truly staggering. That single move wiped out at least 50 zombies. Now, the horde behind them couldn't break through the wall of flame. He successfully blocked the charging crowd of monsters. This was the perfect opportunity. Let's attack together. We had to kill the zombie king now. We needed to seize that level 3 crystal core. Sanchong stared at the level 3 beast. He saw the golden opportunity opening up before him. He looked like he was going completely mad with greed. He was in a total state of euphoria. 3 level 2 cores couldn't guarantee a breakthrough to level 3. But with the king's core, reaching level 3 was a mathematical certainty. It was as good as done. 5 awakened survivors swarmed the beast at once. The wounded zombie king was finally beaten to death under the barrage. Almost every member of Sanchong's group took a hit. They were covered in blood and bruises. But these minor injuries meant nothing to them, not when compared to the prize of killing a king. The pain wasn't even worth mentioning. Brother Chong, you're incredible, one of them shouted. Taking down a level 3 zombie king was an unbelievable feat. He really thought he could just beat a level 3 king to death, and he actually thought he was walking away with that core. I watched him from the shadows and let my fingertips slide through the air. An invisible spatial blade instantly sliced through the wind. It aimed straight for Sanchong's neck. He didn't even see it coming. Before he could even finish his sentence, his head began to tilt. It separated from his shoulders in a clean, silent snap. A second later, boiling hot blood sprayed directly onto Zhang Qian's face. Zhang Qian's eyes bulged out in pure terror. He died right there, unable to even close his eyes. Why? How could this be happening? I stood there, the little brat they thought had run away. You bastard, you ambushed me, damn you. He cursed my entire bloodline 18 generations back in his mind. Sanchong roared with a resentment that burned hotter than his blood. He hadn't even become the king of his own territory yet. He never expected his grand ship to sink in a filthy gutter like this. His consciousness began to sink deeper and deeper into the dark. He finally fell into an infinite darkness. Shock, pure, absolute shock. The red-haired guy, Eagle, Shadow, Su Xiaoqian, and the other four, their mouths hung wide open. Disbelief was written all over their faces. Frantic panic began to claw at their hearts. I had been hiding my strength so deeply that I actually managed to kill Sanchong in one shot. What exactly was happening here? I looked at them and said, "Don't look at me like that. Stop with those shocked expressions. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Li Xian. As of today, I am a level 2 spatial ability user, and I am your boss. If anyone isn't convinced by the new management, you're more than welcome to step forward." The atmosphere turned deathly silent and grim. Su Xiaoqian, the one with the weakest personality, was the very first one to stand up. I smirked and asked, "What's wrong, Sister Xiaoqian? Are you not convinced by my leadership?" No. I am more than willing to recognize you as my boss." Sanchong used to hoard everything for himself. He was selfish with the supplies and a terrible man. He spent his time exploiting his own teammates. I've been dissatisfied with him for a long time, and now that he's dead, you are a level 2 spatial ability user. You are already far more powerful than he ever was. I am ready to follow you. Su Xiaoqian surrendered decisively. In this world, strength and mystery are the only things that keep us alive. The power I displayed was undeniable. My potential was clearly greater than Sanchong's. He was completely outclassed. Her water ability is currently only at level 1. Her attack power is still very weak, so she needs to rely on someone strong. With Sanchong dead, she needed a new protector. She turned around and recognized me as the new boss immediately. There was nothing unacceptable about her choice. That's how it works at the end of the world. The most important thing is simply to survive. They say those who adapt to the times are the real heroes. Since Sister Xiao is so eager to follow my lead, I won't let her regret it. I'm not going to treat my people poorly. In fact, I'll be far more generous than Sanchong ever dreamed of being. I let a cold, crooked smile spread across my face. With a simple wave of my hand, a 10-kilogram bag of rice materialized out of thin air. 10 kilos of rice, I said. It's yours. Su Xiaoqian caught the bag, her hands trembling under the weight. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, stunned, breathless, and petrified. The rest of the group stood there in total silence. They were completely dumbfounded by the sight of real food. Is this what a spatial user is truly capable of? Can they actually carry an entire warehouse of supplies inside a hidden dimension of their own? The possibility made their heads spin. "I'm ready to serve you too," another man yelled out. "Actually, the first time I saw you, I knew you were a king among men. It was a rare quality, a different kind of leadership. I've always been deeply impressed by you, please. Boss, accept me. Don't say no to your little brother." He was ready to serve me, roaring with immediate desperation. He shifted his loyalty with a massive effort. A look of pure, shameless flattery washed over his face. It's not that he had no courage. It's just that the sight of that rice offered him too much to resist. "Very well. Brother Radjar, you're a good brother of mine too." I reached into my space and pulled out another 10-kilogram bag of rice. I tossed it to Radjar. "Boss, are you for real? This is too brilliant. I'm convinced." Radjar was overflowing with joy. "Boss, I agree as well. I'm ready to submit, even if I'm not great at talking." Another man spoke up, his voice trembling with admiration. "I look up to strong, discreet men like you." Eagle submitted right then and there. I pulled out a third 10-kilogram bag of rice from my space and threw it to him. Sado was the last one left. She was the only level 3 awakened on the entire team besides myself. She had clawed her way to the top of the ranks through sheer force. But now that the rest of the squad had folded, she was cornered. She knew she couldn't win a fight against me. More importantly, my spatial blade was a terrifying weapon of war. It was strange, lethal, and impossible to predict. Defending against it was out of the question. She realized her only real option was to surrender. "I'm a level 3. I want 20 kilograms of rice," she demanded. "If you can pull that out, I'm yours." I looked at her and smirked. "Only 20? I'll give you 30. I waved my hand, and 30 kilograms of rice appeared out of thin air. This tactic was essential for keeping these people in line. Subduing them with food was more effective than any threat. My supply was flawless, and their old leader, Sankian, was already forgotten. This elite squad of evolved survivors was supposed to be tough, yet I had brought them all to their knees with ease. A low roar of hunger and respect echoed through the room. At that moment, the flames from the exploding gas canisters finally died down. The gasoline burned out, and the zombie horde surged forward once again. Liz and the others used the car to block the entrance of the alleyway. The corpses in front of them were already piling up. They looked like mountains, making it nearly impossible for the zombies behind them to move forward. It reminded me of a massive stampede back at the University of Mexico. Just a wall of rotting flesh pressed against flesh. The zombies in the front were completely pinned and couldn't even see. Only a few stragglers were actually getting through. But the ones in the back kept pushing and shoving inward. Eventually, they were packed so tight they couldn't even twitch. They were stuck, and for today, the threat was neutralized. I looked at my team and said, everyone, let's head back to base. Rest up, and once your wounds heal, we'll finish clearing Vientiane City. Today's haul is enough to evolve every single one of you to level 2. As long as you follow me, I guarantee you'll never go hungry again. Eat as much as you want, I told them with a calm expression. They looked at me with pure devotion. They loved hearing those words. Other leaders gave empty promises, but I always delivered on mine. I really meant every word I said. Boss, if we could actually eat our fill every meal, that would be incredible. I didn't even dare to dream of such a thing before. My spatial ability made storing supplies effortless for the whole team. It allowed my crew to travel light. They didn't have to lug around heavy packs anymore. In these times, most of the good food has already been scavenged. The rest has rotted away, making supply runs a nightmare for others. My team of 5 moved with agility and quickly retreated from the battlefield. We secured Sanchong's entire haul. 3 level 2 zombie cores, 102 level 1 zombie cores. And on top of all that, a single level 3 zombie core. Everything ended up in my hands. In the end, Sanchong, he basically ended up working for me for free. We made it back to the villa. Shadow, Red, Eagle, and the rest of the crew. They immediately started showing off their loot. They started the fire to cook the fragrant rice. The smell of steaming white rice filled the air. They looked at me and asked, Boss, can you share some with us? Eating plain white rice without any side dishes was a waste. I reached into my space and tossed them 5 packs of preserved vegetables. Bayer's eyes lit up the second he saw them. Holy crap, boss, you even have preserved veggies. He couldn't believe his luck. Preserved vegetables with white rice is a legendary combo, salty and full of flavor. This is delicious. Today I'm going to eat 10 bowls of rice. He was practically shouting with joy. It felt so good to finally be comfortable, even for a few minutes. Just a few packs of preserved greens had completely won over the crew. In the apocalypse, most people live a life of pure desperation. It's a brutal, relentless existence. Even for an awakened survivor like me, there were times when I had to go hungry. I stayed calm, pulled out a case of water, and then grabbed a pack of cigarettes. I moved with a steady hand, showing them what true composure looks like. I lit one up and slowly exhaled a thick cloud of smoke. I looked at them and asked, you guys want one? They stared at me, wondering where the hell I was getting all these treasures. Please, boss, give me one. It's been way too long. Redhead looked like he was about to drop to his knees and beg. Before the world ended, he was a heavy smoker. He used to go through a pack a day, but now he had nothing. Going this long without a hit of nicotine was absolute torture for him. Here, take it, I said, handing them out. I gave a cigarette to each of them, and Redhead didn't waste a second. He sparked it instantly using his own ability. A small flame flickered right from the tip of his finger. Using supernatural powers just to light a smoke. Talk about a flex. Redhead took a deep drag and leaned back. His entire face transformed into a mask of pure, unadulterated bliss. Damn, he muttered. Now this is the life. He couldn't help but think about the miserable existence he had before. Everything before this moment felt like a bad dream. The only thing that could make this better is a cold beer, Eagle added suddenly. He sighed, his eyes fixed on the rising smoke. Beer? That was a piece of cake. I immediately reached into my storage space. I pulled out a case of beer, exactly 12 cold bottles. This is real? You actually have beer? Damn, boss. Are you a god? Whatever you say appears. In this apocalypse, you really are the Lord. They couldn't believe they were actually about to drink beer again. White rice, pickled vegetables, cigarettes, and now this. This was pure, heavenly luxury, and they were completely sold on me. They were loyal now, wondering why they hadn't met me sooner. That dog Sanchong almost got us killed, one muttered. He deserves to die. Others started ranting. They cursed Sanchong, realizing that with a new boss like me, life actually had a future, so I handed Redhead, Eagle, and Shou Xiaoqian 10 level 1 cores each. I gave Shadow a level 2 crystal core, ensuring they all had their own stash. With good food and these cores, their strength would soon undergo a total transformation. I went back to my room and started consuming a level 2 core myself. My spatial blade is incredibly powerful, but the drain on my energy is massive. Right now, I can only unleash it a few times before I'm completely exhausted. That's why growing my power level is the only thing that matters. It's strong, but the limitations are still massive. The energy cost is too high to use it at will, but if I could reach level 3, everything would be completely different. The level 3 zombie crystal core melted instantly in my mouth. It transformed into a surge of raw energy that rushed through my limbs. If I were just an ordinary survivor, that massive impact would have killed me on the spot, but an awakened body is different. Being level 2 makes me extremely resilient, though enduring this energy surge is still a struggle. An hour later, I stood before the mirror and looked at my lean figure. I was 6 feet tall again, my abs defined and hard, sharp brows, bright eyes, and a face carved with deep, striking features. My gaze was as brilliant as the stars. I was irresistibly handsome, my old charm returning and even surpassing what I had before. Finally, the weight is gone. But it seems I haven't just strengthened my spatial blade. This feels more like mental control, a power focused in my eyes. I concentrated my gaze on a bottle of water nearby. A bottle of shampoo next to it began to float in the air for no apparent reason. Then, the chairs and benches started to hover as well. They were all under my mental control, a powerful new gift. Pure mental force radiated directly from my body. I didn't even have to lift a finger. I could even levitate objects weighing over 200 pounds. Sister Sixwan, just wait until we meet again. Suddenly, I heard voices. Wait, isn't that the girl? The one walking with Feng Shichuan. She's with Chuchen now? That's second-generation rich scum. Wait, wasn't she Li Xian's girlfriend? Feng Zixuan and Li Xian broke up a long time ago. You didn't know? How is that possible? Li Xian is so handsome, and Feng Shichuan is so beautiful. They were the perfect couple. How could they break up? Everything I'm telling you is true. That's ancient history, don't you know? Li Xian had a mental breakdown and started eating. He was binge-eating for a long time. He completely lost control of his life. He turned into a disgusting fat pig. I even heard in the alumni group that Li Xian had been making life a living hell for Feng Shichuan for a very long time. He even broke her ribs. Apparently, this was all leaked by Feng Zixuan's best friend. Lin Xiaoxiao said Feng Zixuan was terrified. He wouldn't let her say a word. Damn, that Li Xian. He's such a beast. More than just a beast. He's a straight-up animal. You guys have no idea the kind of suffering Feng Zixuan had to endure. Li Xian abused her for a long time. He treated her like his personal punching bag, and he was constantly demanding money from her. Every single time she tried to study, if she didn't give him cash, he would beat her. That monster isn't even human. To pay off his gambling debts, Feng Zixuan had to take out a high-interest loan of 300,000. In the end, it was Chu Chan who stepped in and helped her solve the whole mess. We finally see his true face, but they couldn't see my heart. I never expected people to think I was so ruthless and cruel. They said Feng Zixuan was almost ruined by this beast. The crowd wouldn't stop gossiping about me. Lately, the entire campus has been buzzing with one topic: rumors about my supposed mental illness and the long-term abuse. The stories of what I supposedly did to her had spread everywhere. Students from all over the university now hated my guts with everything they had. Right then, a stretched Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled onto the campus. A bold, lively girl suddenly sprinted toward me to ask for my contact info. I didn't refuse her. I just opened my QR code and kept moving. Damn, it was the newest Rolls-Royce model. That thing had to cost well over 10 million. Which rich brat was driving something that insane? It was incredible, 10 times more impressive than a Porsche 718. Actually, more like 20 times more impressive. Usually, the people behind the wheel of a car like that are high-level CEOs and big bosses, right? Rich kids don't drive these, and they definitely can't afford them. Then someone shouted, "Look, there's a handsome guy in there." I watched as Feng Zixuan walked away, standing right there by the side of the road. I happened to catch a glimpse of this luxurious beast, a Rolls-Royce Phantom. I couldn't help it. I felt a surge of curiosity because, in the real world, you rarely see multi-million-dollar luxury cars like this. Suddenly, the door of the car swung open. A man stepped out onto the street. He had a slender build and a presence that commanded attention. His proportions were perfect, tall, lean, and striking. He carried himself with an extraordinary aura. With bright eyes and a sharp, polished look, he stepped out of the car, looking incredibly handsome. For a moment, the girls by the side of the road looked like they'd been struck by lightning. Their faces were pure infatuation as they whispered, "He's so handsome." And honestly, I really was. I was exactly their type. I could feel them staring, trying to find a connection with me. I had the car, and I had the face to match it. I was tall, sharp, and carried an air of mystery that didn't feel forced. Was I the textbook definition of a billionaire? A Prince Charming come to life? Their hearts were racing, and I could tell they wanted to come over. They wanted to ask for my WeChat, wondering if I'd actually let them add me. Did they really think they had a chance to get to know me? But just as the crowd of girls stood there hesitating and whispering among themselves, one girl, full of energy, with a slender, athletic build, suddenly broke from the pack. She ran boldly toward me, Li Xian, determined to ask for my contact information right then and there. This girl was different. Young, lively, confident, and absolutely radiant. She wasn't just brave, she was stunning. "Hi, I'm Fu Tutu," she said, and the name rang a bell. Wasn't she the most popular freshman school beauty on campus? Along with Chen Xian, Feng Shichuan, and Sun Meili, and Chu Tianji, they were the top 5 goddesses of Jiangda University. I didn't expect a girl of her status to be this proactive with me. Wait, did she just call me Senior Li Xian? Who the hell has been spreading rumors about me lately? Someone told the whole school that I'd lost my mind. They said I'd become a total loser, a dead pig, wasting my life. They even posted Photoshop pictures in the group chat. Screw them. "Hi, I'm Li Xian," I replied, keeping it cool. "Should I scan your code, or do you want to scan mine?" Facing a lively beauty who actually had the guts to make the first move, I wasn't about to turn her down. I casually pulled up my QR code for her to see. "So, you really are the famous Senior Li Xian," she giggled. She looked at me like I was some rare specimen she'd never seen before. I guess I didn't look like the mental patient the rumors described. Fu Tutu laughed, her eyes bright and curious. It turned out she had heard plenty of stories about me too. I was a third-year student, once ranked as the #1 heartthrob at Jiangda University, the handsomest guy on campus. No competition, but I didn't spend my freshman year playing the field. I was a one-woman man from the very start. Then the news broke that Feng Shichuan and I had split. Suddenly, everyone was saying I'd lost my mind. They even circulated fake screenshots of my hospital diagnosis, posting my photos in group chats just to mock me. They laughed at how fat I'd gotten, calling me a bloated mess. Rumors flew everywhere, painting Feng Xishuan as the innocent victim. But the truth? The truth was a lot different from the gossip. To Fu Tutu, I didn't look like a mental patient at all. I looked perfectly fine. Ding, she added me on WeChat immediately. But she still had that look of pure shock on her face. I had actually managed to shed all that weight. And in such a short time, she couldn't wrap her head around it. Did he get liposuction? She wondered. But even if I had gone under the knife, recovery wouldn't be this fast. And where did I get a Rolls Royce? Li Xian, you rented this car, didn't you? She snapped. Do you think renting a luxury car and losing weight is enough? Do you think you can just show up and win me back? Stop dreaming. I see right through your little games. Now return that car. Return it right now. Don't bury yourself in even more debt, just to save a little bit of your male pride. You're being so immature. Do you even realize that? It was Feng Xishuan. I hadn't even noticed her running toward me. She started launching into a long, exhausting lecture. Smack! I backhanded her across the face. My hand connected hard with Feng Xishuan's cheek. The blow left her completely stunned. Then, her face twisted with pure rage. You actually dared to hit me? She stared at me with a look of pure disbelief. I used to be so gentle with her, even in the middle of a fight. I wouldn't have touched a single hair on her head back then. But now, without saying a word, I had just slapped her across the face. It was simply too much for her to process. You're scum, she hissed, a total beast. You actually hit women. I hit you because I felt like it, I replied. Weren't you telling the group chat that I was abusive at home? That I was some psycho who cracked your head open and broke your ribs? If that's the story, then a slap is perfectly normal. No, that's not what I meant, she stammered. I thought of the screenshot of her chat history. The one about your best friend Lin Xiaoxiao's medical records? I wasn't the one who put her in the hospital. So, who was the one who actually gave her those injuries? I leaned in and asked her directly. My voice was cold enough to draw blood. She muttered, unable to look me in the eye. She just wanted a valid reason to run off with some rich guy. And she didn't care if she made my life a living hell to do it. You barely broke up with me, and you're already tangled up with someone else. Chu-chun, you really take me for some kind of easy target. No, Li Xian, let me explain, she cried out. Enough. If we're done, we're done. I don't care who you're with now. But what I won't stand for is this. Spreading lies about me after breaking my heart. You're going to apologize to me right now. I won't apologize. I wasn't the one who started those rumors. Besides, I already told you I'm not leaving you. You're mentally ill. Isn't that just a fact? You even rent luxury cars just to show off and act rich. And you hit women, Li Xian. Finally, your true self is revealed. The face of a total scumbag. Breaking up with you was the best decision I have ever made. With that one slap, I had achieved exactly what I wanted. I had shattered every last bit of affection that was left between us. 6. It's over between you and me. Chu-chun roared with fury. Despair was written all over her face. She turned and ran away, sobbing like a victim. With tears in her eyes, she screamed, Li Xian, you'll regret this. Chu-chun already promised to help me rent a villa. And in the future, he's going to buy me one of my own. My future is something a loser like you could never reach in 100 lifetimes. Live with that regret for the rest of your miserable life. Hearing that I was just renting luxury cars to play pretend, the girls who used to crush on me suddenly snapped out of it. Sure, I was still incredibly handsome, but my behavior was starting to leave a bad taste in their mouths. Faking it until you make it. That's the ultimate social death sentence. Good looking? Definitely. But pathetic. Just another man whose words couldn't be trusted. What a fake, disgusting man. It doesn't matter how handsome he is. He's just an empty shell. I can't believe Li Xian actually hit a girl. It's confirmed, isn't it? Feng Xishuan cheated and made up that story about her life. She completely slandered me. But did she really deserve to be hit? Setting the police aside for a moment, I looked at the facts and didn't feel a shred of regret. Should I feel even a little bit guilty? The crowd didn't care if Feng Xishuan cheated or lied. They just kept saying I shouldn't have done it, that I shouldn't have laid a hand on her. Meanwhile, Feng Xishuan was reaching her breaking point. Her lungs were about to burst from pure rage. She immediately called Chu-chun to complain, sobbing hysterically. She put on a performance that would make anyone pity her. When he heard this, Chu-chun snapped and said he'd teach me a lesson. He swore I would pay a terrible price. Then, he made a promise to his precious Feng Xishuan. He told her he'd take her to rent that villa this afternoon. He promised she could live in the Guandan Institute Villa District. Finally, she would have the luxury home she always dreamed of. Coincidentally, he heard rumors about a specific villa available there. The rent at Guandan Institute was set at 50 points. That's 50,000 yuan a month for a place with top-tier decorations. The property itself is worth 50 million. The people living in that neighborhood are the elite. They are the wealthiest and most noble families around. Chu-chun told her that once he inherits the family business and takes full control of his future, he'll buy a villa just like it and give it to her as a gift. Feng Xishuan was flattered as they drove into the city at 3 o'clock. Chu-chun was behind the wheel of his Porsche 718. The engine roared as they approached the destination. He drove Feng Xishuan straight into the underground garage. They had arrived at the Guandan Institute. The garage was filled with high-end machinery. I saw a Bentley Bentayga and an Aston Martin parked nearby. There was a Mercedes-Benz G-Class and a Ferrari sitting there. Even a Porsche Panamera was tucked into a corner. There There was even a Lamborghini Diablo parked right there. Cars like that were common in this place. But a car is just a car, right? Every single one of them was a luxury ride worth over $1 million. Even a BMW 7 Series was considered the bare minimum here. It was all so ordinary to them. Nothing flashy, just more of the same. Then there was Chu Chen's Porsche 718 pulling in. In an underground garage like this, it happened suddenly. His car didn't look special at all anymore. It looked pathetic. Wow, this situation was getting awkward for him. We continued deeper into the underground level. The decor was insane. It looked as luxurious as a 5-star hotel. I never expected an underground garage to look this beautiful. Is this really what a high-end mansion's garage looks like? Feng Xishuan let out a small, breathless laugh. Her face was a mask of pure shock. She was completely overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it. The level of luxury was staggering. Hell, there was even a starlight ceiling built into the garage roof. Unbelievable. Xishuan, it's just a luxury mansion. You'll be living here from now on. This is your future. I watched as Chu Chen acted like he owned the place. After a while, you'll get used to this lifestyle. It happens gradually. It's just a garage, nothing to be surprised about. Chu Chen smirked, adjusting his sunglasses with a smug grin. He spoke with a calm, worldly air, acting like he'd seen it all before. He didn't flinch for a second. Brother Chu Chen, you're so cool. I couldn't do this without you. I never dreamed I'd live in a luxury villa like this in my entire life. I feel like even the air here smells expensive. I can't wait to move in. Feng Xishuan's eyes were already sparkling like little stars. She was practically glowing with greed. She quickly whipped out her phone to start snapping photos. She was already planning her social media post and thinking of the caption. Finally moving into my mother-in-law's house. I'm so happy. This is the life. Hard work pays off, and a beauty like me deserves to bloom. Let's go. Time to go public. She opened her social media and tagged the location. The Guandan Institute Villas. All my friends online are going to die of pure envy. And then, that idiot Li Xian will see exactly how well I'm doing. Just because you rented a luxury car, you think you can come show off to me? Do you really think that's how you'll get me back? Are you dreaming? I was with you for 3 years. I know exactly who you are. I know what kind of nobody you really are. You, buying a Rolls Royce? On the other end of the phone, a young man's voice asked coldly. Yes, we're following her. The lady's name is Feng Xishuan, and the gentleman is Chu Chen. The plan is to get them out of there. They wouldn't even rent to him. I hung up the phone without another word. The line went dead instantly. The real estate agent stood there, completely stunned. Feng Xishuan looked even more shocked, her jaw practically hitting the floor. A look of pure disbelief washed over her face. How could this villa possibly belong to me? It didn't make any sense. It was impossible, absolutely impossible, and she refused to believe it. Feng Xishuan looked like she was about to have a total breakdown right there. Miss Feng, do you actually know the owner of this house? The agent asked. Chu Chen was starting to feel the pressure too. Damn it, he muttered under his breath. Was his attempt to show off and humiliate me about to backfire completely? Was his plan to act superior going to blow up in his face? He had always seen me as nothing but Feng Xishuan's broke ex-boyfriend. How could a nobody like me suddenly have this kind of money? Seeing the situation shift, he realized he had to change his strategy immediately. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. You must have the wrong person, Feng Xishuan stammered to the agent. Did you and Li Xian plan this whole charade together just to trick me? Mr. Chu, she started, but he cut her off. Shut up, just keep your mouth closed. I don't think this house is actually that great anyway. Going up and down stairs in a villa is a huge pain. The layout is awkward and the stairs are just too much work. Every room is a problem, even if it looks fancy on the surface. But in reality, it's all just for show. I've had my eye on a large single-story luxury apartment instead. Living on one floor is a much better experience. It's way more comfortable and it has a view of the river. The scenery is better, so I'll contact the agents at Banjiang Yiping. Those places are top tier too. Chu Chen started making calls immediately while Feng Xishuan stood there. She nodded, but the thought of me owning a villa wouldn't leave her alone. She couldn't get it out of her head. What was the truth here? Half an hour later, they arrived at the new location. They reached the Banjiang Yiping complex and were met by a new face. Mr. Chu and Miss Feng, I'm the agent here. I'm Xiao Gu, and we only have 3 apartments left for rent in this city. Which would you like to see? We want the one with the most luxurious decor. That must be Unit 2802 in the building. This floor is the 6th floor. It just hit the market and has an excellent layout. The decor is luxurious and has a real sense of style. It has a 12-meter balcony with river views, and they say the owner is incredibly powerful. He's a mysterious tycoon. A big shot from Jiancheng with some very high-level connections. He has no less than 128 properties to his name. All of them were paid for in cold, hard cash. The agent, Little Wu, spoke with a specific look on his face. He looked like he was sharing a deep secret. Who knows where he gets this late-night gossip? Second-hand rumors, but still damn. That is some serious power. No doubt about it. The owner listed 128 apartments on the company platform. He put them all through the agency at the exact same time. Every single one of them is up for rent. It's hard not to notice a move like that. Soon we arrived. Feng Xishuan and I followed the agent's lead. Little Wu brought us straight to Unit 2802. It was right there on the 28th floor of Building 6. He opened the door, and a massive, open-concept luxury apartment appeared. The layout featured an enormous living room and a master suite. Floor-to-ceiling windows flooded the space with light, pure luxury. It had everything: a private study, a walk-in closet, and a designer bathroom. Not a single detail was missing. Then I saw the 12-meter balcony overlooking the water. It offered a perfect panoramic view of the Yangtze River landscape. The 280-square-meter floor plan felt incredibly spacious. The sense of openness was overwhelming. Sichuan fell in love with the place the second she stepped inside. This open-concept style really is something else. It's easily the best unit in the entire building. It's the kind of place people dream about while stuck in cramped villas. The city view is wonderful, and she's clearly obsessed with the layout. She turned to me and said, "Brother Chu-chun, I really like this one. Let's rent it." So, this was the one we were going to take. The rent is about $390,000 per month. It's paid semi-annually, with a 1-month deposit and 6 months up front. If you're sure about this, we can move forward. I can contact the owner right now to sign the contract. I wanted that contract signed immediately. I waved my hand dismissively and told him, "Sure. Agent, go ahead and create a group chat." He immediately added the owner to the group. The members were myself, Feng Sichuan, and Li Shouqing. Sichuan froze the moment she saw the owner's profile. She stared at the profile picture on the screen. It was Li Xian's WeChat. I couldn't believe it. "Mr. Li, these are the clients, Ms. Feng and Mr. Chu. They want to rent your apartment in the Binjiang Yiping development." The agent was referring to the luxury riverside estate. "When would be a good time for you to sign the contract?" Sichuan looked at me, her face pale. "Are you seriously stalking me?" she hissed. "Are you following me around like some kind of ghost? Did you really add him on WeChat just to rent this place? Guangdong Academy. Now you're making a group chat to rent a place in Riverside Estate. There are so many apartments. Why do you have to rent mine? Damn it, you're like a predator stalking prey. Don't make me insult you. I'm a polite person, unless I can't hold it back anymore." I typed the insult into WeChat and then immediately left the group. I was out. Feng Sichuan stared at the message on her screen. She was completely lost, stunned, suffocating, petrified. In that moment, her mind was spiraling into total desperation. Her heart was shaken to its absolute core. That massive luxury apartment in Riverside Estate belonged to Li Xian. The garden villa at Guangdong Academy belonged to Li Xian. He had 128 apartments fully paid off in his name and a brand new Rolls-Royce Phantom. He was fit and handsome now. It was all real. Was Li Xian a hidden millionaire? He hid it for 3 years just to test me. God, I had the chance right there. A deep, crushing sense of regret suddenly surged within her. He wasn't showing off when he appeared in that Rolls-Royce. He was simply returning to his true self. Then she looked at Chu-chun. He was driving a second-hand Porsche 718. And he was still out here renting an apartment. He wasn't even as handsome as Li Xian. He couldn't even compare to a single hair on his head. Why is this happening? How can this be? I don't believe it. I don't know what to think anymore. Chu-chun was getting annoyed too, feeling humiliated after 2 failures in a row. Why is Li Xian showing off? Does he really think he's a big deal? I don't buy it. There are thousands of houses in Jiangqing. Are they all his? Chu-chun opened the rental app again. He started searching for new options and quickly settled on one. This place in Jiangshansu looks good, and it's close to the university. It's a step down from Riverside Estate, but a 3-bedroom is plenty for one person. Mr. Chu. Xiao Wu wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, "That house in Jiangshansu belongs to Mr. Li too. What about the one in Bonk? Also Mr. Li's, and the one in Longhin. That's also Mr. Li's property. Damn it, is this house on Panon Mountain also owned by that guy? It's all Li Xian's, isn't it?" Actually, it wasn't. The agent, Xiao Wu, just wiped his sweat and stayed silent. Chu-chun looked at the listing for the mountain house. Panon Mountain was practically in the suburbs. It was 20 kilometers away from the university. Why would I rent something that far away? I don't even want to rent anymore. Forget the apartment. Let's call it a day. I'm going back to the dorms. Chu-chun hailed a taxi back to school, his face red with pure rage. Feng Zishuan stood there, completely stunned by the man I had become. She realized she had traded pure gold for worthless junk. She looked miserable, wondering, what kind of person is Li Xian really? We had been together for so long. 3 whole years, yet it felt like she never knew me at all. She tried to recall anything I'd ever said about my family, but the truth was, I had never mentioned them once. If she had bothered to look closer, she'd have seen I wasn't an ordinary student. Every single month, I used to prepare a little something for her. A small surprise, a thoughtful gift. They weren't expensive, but I put my heart into every one of them. I even bought her a cat and rented her a private place. I was spending over 10,000 yuan a month on her. For a normal student, that kind of money shouldn't have existed. My official monthly allowance was supposed to be just 2,000 yuan. There was no way that could cover her lifestyle. The math didn't add up, and she was finally starting to see the truth. Everything was starting to make sense to her now. She felt like I had lied to her from the very beginning, that I was actually some hidden rich heir. Filthy rich. Li Xian, you tricked me, she thought. You tricked me so cruelly. After 3 whole years together, was I really that unwilling to open up to her? She probably thought I was some kind of psychopath, playing the part of a poor student just to watch her fail, just to see her walk away. To her, I was nothing but a massive liar. Feng Zishuan was suddenly hit with the crushing realization that she'd been played. If I had only confessed my true identity sooner, she never would have broken up with me. She never would have fallen for Chu Chen's games. By all rights, she should have been living in a luxury mansion right now. The more she thought about it, the more regret consumed her. Every second that passed made it worse. It was 6:30 in the evening, and her world was falling apart. Water arrows condensed into ice deep beneath the surface. Under his control, they transformed into hundreds of frozen bolts. Sharp and peerless, they looked like a masterpiece of lethal technology. The ability allowed for a massive area of effect attack. Its destructive potential was nearly equal to that of the redhead's power. The bird's eye recognition range was even higher. The bald eagle's vision was wider than ever, now covering a full radius of 10 kilometers. The dark energy hadn't surpassed level 3 yet, but the speed was significantly faster. It almost reached a speed of 5 seconds per kilohertz. At a distance of 100 meters, I pushed the door open and stepped inside. I could clearly feel the shift in the atmosphere, sensing the new auras radiating from my teammates. Very well, I said. It looks like everyone has leveled up. Our mission today is to clear out every single one of the zombies in the city. We were heading to Banxiang to rescue anyone left and scavenge for supplies. Sanqian and I would lead the way, but we were a bit different, especially Sanqian. He doesn't care if ordinary survivors live or die, but I do. Order is collapsing, and nature itself is fading away. Humanity is distorted, and morality is a thing of the past. Without unity, survivors are nothing more than a pile of loose sand. They just turn on each other, even those of us who evolved into new humans. If we don't start helping other survivors, then living in this wasteland becomes a death sentence. Life will only get harder and harder. We aren't producing supplies or tilling the earth yet. Even if we see the land, it remains barren. We might possess great power, but that isn't enough. The day will eventually come when we run out of everything. Individual power has its limits. We have to gather our strength, because when small efforts combine, great things happen. Building a survivor base and restoring order is the only way. It's the only path left for the future of humanity. Besides, building this future is also a massive win for our own well-being. Doing good for others is really just doing good for ourselves. I even pulled out a fresh fruit salad for them. This move left the other evolved humans completely stunned. Come on, I said, waving them over. Since it's morning, let's just have a little hot pot, and I'll give you 2 beers each. I, Li Xian, will never be stingy with my own people. The evolved guys just stood there like idiots, totally speechless. Aside from the shock, there was only more shock. This is the apocalypse, for God's sake. And yet, here they were, about to eat a full hot pot. It looked so authentic it was hard to believe. Who needs a bike when you've got a feast like this? Once these guys finally got over the initial shock, they reached level 2 of their evolution. A few rebellious thoughts inevitably started to stir in their hearts. But under my relentless bombardment of luxury treats, that rebellion was instantly pulverized. They eat and drink like kings every day, so why bother rebelling? Are they even sure they could survive if they killed me? Besides, my own strength is nothing to scoff at. Killing me would just mean going back to starving in the dirt. Only a complete idiot would make that trade. In fact, it was the exact opposite. They needed to protect me. They had to guard me like I was their own father. They couldn't let Father Li face a single second of danger. Otherwise, where would they ever find a life this good again? In their eyes, I had basically become their provider. And damn, this meal was hitting the spot. The hot pot was incredibly delicious and authentic. Eating fresh meat like this felt absolutely amazing. Hot pot and cold beer, now this is the life. Damn, everything we ate before was total trash, one muttered. It was like eating slop meant for pigs. Even dogs wouldn't touch what Sun Qin gave us. He used to give us rock-hard steamed buns that were impossible to swallow. That guy really deserves to die, but you, boss. I'm truly impressed. You're exactly the leader we needed. A spatial ability user is truly the ultimate asset. It's just too cool. Good food leads to better evolution. These guys actually managed to polish off 100 pounds of beef. The appetite of an awakened is on a whole different level. You can't even compare them to a normal person. The higher the level of the awakened, the more fuel their body requires. Once everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, we found our ride. We grabbed 2 random cars from the side of the road. Sanchong and I started pulling out gas cans to fuel them up. I handed Wang Mao 10 full barrels of gasoline. Those barrels, combined with his fire abilities, would massively boost his destructive power. I'd seen it before. This time, I had prepared these gas barrels specifically for him. I wanted him to be a walking inferno. Wang Mao wasn't even surprised anymore. His heart had gone numb to the shocks after seeing my space power. At this point, he figured there was nothing Boss Li couldn't pull out of thin air. The 5 of us piled into the 2 cars and sped back toward Vientiane City. Even though Sam Qiang, that muscle-bound guy, was missing from the team, the sheer strength of our squad of awakened. Compared to yesterday, it was on a whole different level. All 5 members of the team were now level 2. Our power was significantly greater than it was just a day ago. But things weren't right in Vientiane City today. It looked like 2 level 3 zombies had been born, and the majority of the common zombies had leveled up, with over 30 level 2 zombies appearing. Eagle scanned the area ahead, watching the situation unfold. Using his eagle eye scan, he scouted the conditions inside Vientiane City in advance. How could the evolution speed of the zombies accelerate so suddenly? I looked at the alley where we fought yesterday. The corpses of the fallen zombies had been almost entirely devoured. It was clear, once these zombies die, other zombies swoop in to feast on them. They accelerate their evolution by swallowing the flesh and blood of their own kind. It was just as I had suspected before. It seems my theory was right. While we awakened, are evolving. The zombies are evolving right alongside us. They're evolving, and their speed isn't any slower than ours. And this is just what's happening inside the city. Zombies are our primary opponents here. But out in the wild, it's a different story. All kinds of snakes, insects, rats, and beasts could be evolving just as frantically. If human survivors don't hurry and complete their own evolution, the enemies we face in the future will only get more terrifying. The pressure to survive is becoming suffocating. It will only get worse from here on out. Even with enough supplies, survival will be a brutal struggle. Shadow analyzed the situation with a cold, rational expression. He was right. Today, we absolutely must clear the pressure building in this area. We need to secure Vientiane City. We're taking this city back, turning Vientiane into what it needs to be, a temporary stronghold to house the survivors. I looked at my team and asked, is everyone ready for battle? Ready, boss. I nodded, my mind set on the mission ahead. The level 2 evolved members of my team headed straight toward the target. Vientiane City was crawling with scattered groups of zombies. We cleared every monster we encountered along the path. They were wiped out the moment we passed them by. Then, we reached the main gates of Vientiane City. Instantly, hundreds of zombies lunged at us from the shadows. They attacked with a ferocity unlike anything we'd seen before. But my team moved fast, and a mountain began to form. A mountain made of rotting corpses. I gave a sharp wave of my hand. I pulled 10 barrels of gasoline directly out of my storage space. Hong Mao stepped forward, ready to light the fuse. I gave the order, burn them all. Flames began to dance wildly. A massive fireball erupted from Hong Mao's hands and went flying. It slammed into the gasoline barrels, and the fuel ignited instantly. The world turned into a series of deafening explosions. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of the blast echoed through the entire city. 10 barrels of gasoline. They exploded one after another in a chain reaction. Just as I planned, the area transformed instantly. A literal sea of fire erupted before us. Hordes of zombies were caught in the blast. The flames consumed them on the spot in total chaos. Hong Mao stood in the center of the inferno like a god of fire. His elemental power didn't just create flames, it controlled them. With the gasoline fueling his reach, his fire abilities were amplified to a terrifying degree. The power level he reached was honestly insane. Thousands of fireballs began condensing in the air around him. He manipulated the flames with surgical precision. One zombie after another was struck down. Every single shot landed directly in their heads. The zombies didn't stand a chance. The level 1s and the ordinary ones were finished. They were served their final meals right then and there. Only the level 2 zombies seemed to have any fight left. But that wouldn't last long. 5 or 6 agile zombies suddenly emerged. They came sprinting out of the chaos, tearing through the sea of fire at an incredible speed. They lunged straight for us, so I simply flicked my fingertips. A spatial blade instantly sliced through the neck of a target. It was a level 2 zombie. My attacks were completely invisible. They were fluid, immaterial, and impossible to track. It looked like the creature's head just decided to leave its body. The zombie collapsed into the dirt before it could even react. I didn't stop there. I flicked my hand again. My fingers danced through the air. Another level 2 zombie's head hit the ground. All of this happened in a flash. In the literal blink of an eye. I had already made 6 precise movements. Those 6 level 2 zombies didn't even get the chance to close the distance. They were wiped out before they could even touch us. Once again, my team got a front row seat to the truth. They finally understood the true scale of my power. Striking people down invisibly, the power of a spatial user. It was truly terrifying. If you fight someone like me, you won't even see the threat. You won't even know how you died. Just like Sen Qiang when I made my move. He didn't even have time to react. It felt incredible. If I had an unlimited supply of gasoline barrels, I'd be a god. I could level this entire city. All on my own. Hong Mao was watching me, completely swept up in the moment. Right then, I had already annihilated over 100 zombies. I was simply unstoppable. Even if I was relying on the power of the fuel barrels, it didn't matter. It was more than enough to prove my absolute dominance. Taking down 100 enemies at once makes you want to scream with pure adrenaline. I wanted more. Thank you, I muttered to the flames. These zombie creatures don't know what fear is, but by slaughtering them, I felt myself becoming a different man. I had already wiped out over 100 of them. Suddenly, the entire atmosphere shifted. The zombies across Bonxiang City began to swarm toward us. This time, I didn't hold back and released 50 barrels of pure gasoline. Hong Mao, it's time to show me your real strength. Blow these losers to hell. Understood, boss, he replied with a grin. Just watch me work. The zombies rushed in like a tidal wave. Soon there were 400, maybe 500 zombies total, all crushing against each other. Flames swirled in Hong Mao's hand. High-temperature fireballs rained down directly onto the gasoline barrels. A pillar of fire erupted toward the sky, igniting the entire shopping center instantly. The heart of Bonxiang City, once a place of life, turned into a 100-meter sea of fire in a heartbeat. I watched the blaze and thought, this fire is getting too big. I was afraid we were going to burn all of Banxiang City to the ground. Hongmao, you really are number one. Number one at pure destruction. The torrential flames became a massive problem for the city center. They turned one zombie after another into piles of charcoal, even catching some D-level zombies in the field. 2 of them were burned alive, but the remaining 2 level 3 zombies seemed to have actually developed a bit of intelligence. Instead of rushing in blindly, they turned and fled from Banxiang City. They ran while the fire raged, something you'd never see in a movie. It was something I didn't expect. Boss, the city's level 1. And level 2 zombies are gone. Logically, we've cleared them out, but those 2 level 3 zombies managed to escape. The speed of a level 3 zombie is incredibly high. They're so fast, we might not be able to catch them. Bald Eagle used his eagle eye to scan the area and locked onto the 2 fleeing level 3 targets. They had already escaped 5 kilometers away. That's enough for today. A speed of 5 kilometers is impressive. They're just too fast. I told him, if we can't catch them, let them go. Carlos, leave it. Boss, look at this. Brillante was right there with me. I looked at the loot and thought, this stuff is worthless. But in this world, these trinkets can be traded for so much food. It's an absolute steal. Hongmao had a look of pure joy plastered on his face. To him, this was all pure profit with zero risk. Boss, I've also got a package here with gold bars and gold leaf, plus Ishan jade, platinum, and diamonds. Silverware too. I've got 50 kilograms of the good stuff. Bald Eagle popped open the storage on his motorcycle to show me. I looked it over and said, I'll give you 30 kilograms of rice for the lot. Bald Eagle's face lit up like a blooming chrysanthemum. Boss, you're the best. Then I turned to the last one. How much is this worth? Dark Shadow hadn't taken much. He stood there with empty hands. He casually pulled out a massive piece of jewelry. It was a heavy necklace set with a giant sapphire. The blue stone shimmered in the light. Then he showed me an imperial green jade thumb ring and a matching necklace. Nearby, several survivor groups had banded together into one large unit. These teams, led by level 1 Evolved, had just made a shocking discovery. As the realization hit them, one of them gasped, my god, the zombies in Wanshan City and Panshan. They all seemed to have been wiped out completely. This is impossible, one survivor muttered, looking at Wanshan. That place was a massive zombie hub with thousands of them roaming the streets. It was crawling with level 3 zombies. A level 3 zombie king was even born there. How could they all be gone? I'm serious. I just scouted the perimeter, another added. Every single zombie has been eliminated. Countless undead monsters lay there, burned down until they were nothing but piles of ash. There had to be a team of incredibly powerful Evolved out there. Only monsters could have pulled off a feat like this. It was too hard to believe. Just how strong was this squad? A team like that would be capable of crushing anyone in their way. Could a high-level powerhouse have been born among us? Someone at level 3? It's highly likely. Wanshan City has always been occupied by massive hordes. The supermarkets there haven't even been looted yet. Most of the survivors nearby are just students from the local university. There must be a massive stockpile of supplies left behind. Our own food reserves have completely run out. If we don't find something soon, we're going to starve to death. We have to head into Wanshan City in the Wuzhou district. We need to scavenge for anything we can find. A rogue level 1 Evolved began analyzing our chances. He looked at Sanjo and spoke calmly. Han, you're losing your mind, he said. A team that can wipe out thousands of zombies won't just let us take their loot. Stealing from the strong is just a suicide mission, isn't it? But we were desperate. We had to try something. If we could somehow join their squad, we might actually survive. She spoke with total conviction, despite the risks. She was only a level 1 Evolved, but she was determined to become a real player. She possessed an incredibly rare healing ability. It was vital, capable of mending a teammate's wounds in seconds. For any squad of Evolved, a healer like her was the ultimate asset. However, Sanjo Han had some serious character flaws. Her personality was a liability in this new world. She was a natural-born saint, through and through. She couldn't ignore even the most insignificant survivors. She'd rush to rescue them and give away the team's hard-earned supplies. How she survived 2 months in this apocalypse was beyond me. It was a miracle she hadn't been killed yet. But because she was so blind to the reality of our situation, the number of people she rescued just kept growing. Now, she was surrounded by a massive crowd. She acted as if she were following some divine will. She had formed a survivor group of over 50 people. The daily consumption of food and water for a group that size was becoming an impossible burden to carry. The situation was dire because the system couldn't help them yet. Before the world ended, they had managed to secure a large stash. They had occupied a massive supermarket full of supplies. That's the only reason they've managed to survive this long. But even with that stash, they're just burning through their savings. Before long, Sanjo Han had led over 100 people into a prison-like existence. She brought 50 survivors into the city of Yintian. One of them spoke up, Sister Han, why don't we just leave? The Evolved out there right now, except for you, they're all monsters. They're incredibly difficult to deal with and don't even see us as human. Those others don't just kill on a whim, they destroy everything you love. They bully us constantly, and you're so beautiful, I'm worried for you. Just the other day, I ran into one of those Evolved. I told him I'd be his dog just for a scrap of food to stay alive. But without saying a single word, he tore right through my skin. He mocked me, saying he didn't even want a pet like me. He called me useless, and if it weren't for Sister Han, I'd be rotting out in the wasteland right now. It's true, all the evolved think they're gods among men. Why would they care whether people like us live or die? To them, we're just normal, disposable trash. It was cruel. They could kill us and eat us like living rations. When talking about other evolved, these survivors became the perfect example of evolution. Just normal living beings, showing nothing but fear in their lives. I saw it in their eyes. Society had become far too cruel. They had already been brutally beaten down by this world. In the history of humanity, the idea that the strong are respected had already resurfaced. It happened unconsciously. Who is it? Who's there? Who dares to come to Vientiane City to do whatever they please? Do they have a death wish? Just as the survivors were entering the city, suddenly, a man blocked their path. A violent roar echoed from up ahead. I saw a red-haired man in a leather jacket and sunglasses. He had a pompadour hairstyle and a wicked smile on his face. His voice carried a sharp, mocking edge. At first glance, he didn't look like a good person at all. He was dangerous, and I knew it the moment I saw him. I watched him out of the corner of my eye as he reached out his hands. Two massive fireballs ignited in the air. They condensed right between his palms. A blast of flames erupted around him like a descending god. The fire god himself seemed to have arrived, looking absolutely terrifying. He looked at the crowd and spat, "A bunch of trash. Don't you know we've already occupied Vientiane City?" Beside him, another man let out a cold snort. Countless sprays of water surged up around his body. A water serpent coiled around him, while Rodrigo raised his sniper rifle. Shadow moved like a ghost through the ranks. He left a blurred afterimage in the air, moving at an incredible speed. In an instant, he had circled behind every single survivor. This explosive display of power was too much for them. It instantly terrified the 50 survivors, sending some straight to their knees. "Great lords, please, spare our lives. We wouldn't dare compete with you for supplies." They begged for mercy, their spirits already broken by the constant warfare. They knew that in this apocalypse, the evolved were often more terrifying than zombies. With the law gone, these powerful beings held absolute authority over the weak. They could kill you on a whim or play with you for sport. To them, if you didn't have power, you were nothing but a dog. Resistance was a death sentence. The evolved standing before me were clearly not to be trifled with. One look told me they were bad news. They looked ruthless, like they could kill without even blinking. "Enough, everyone, stand down," I commanded, stepping onto the scene at the perfect moment. I walked forward calmly with my hands behind my back, dressed in white. I moved as if I were taking a casual stroll through a private garden. My entire body radiated the subtle, overwhelming aura of a king. As my words fell, Red and Harrison stood like guardians at my left and right. The water serpents and the flames surrounding them instantly vanished. Eagle lowered his sniper rifle, and Shadow returned to my side like a ghost. Standing in the center, I projected the undeniable presence of a true leader. It was obvious to everyone that I was the boss of these 5 powerful evolved. They wondered just how strong I had to be to make such monsters submit. I had to be the legend they whispered about, a level 3 powerhouse. "Are you here for supplies?" I asked. "I'm afraid you're out of luck. Everything in Vientiane City has already been claimed by us." "Great boss, please, can we follow you? We're on the verge of starvation." They knew survival was impossible on their own, even if the odds here were slim. They clung to me as their last shred of hope. Johan decided to take one last gamble. After all, she had nothing left to lose. It was either this or a slow, agonizing death. Suddenly, her hands erupted in a brilliant green light. It was the unmistakable proof of an evolved ability. "I'm a healer," she declared, her voice trembling but firm. "This light, it can mend wounds in seconds." She was desperate to show she wasn't just dead weight. She looked at me, hoping I'd see her value. A healer is a rare find in this wasteland. Someone with those skills is more than qualified to join my ranks. I gave a slight nod, acknowledging her power. My team of evolved was growing stronger by the day. It only made sense to recruit those who came willingly. "But I have one condition," she added, glancing back at her group. She wasn't just looking out for herself. "If you want me to join you, you have to take these 50 survivors with us. If you agree, I'll give you my absolute loyalty. I'll do whatever you ask of me." When I heard her demand, I almost laughed, but I kept my face cold and frowned. I showed my dissatisfaction and said, "I can let you join. But as for these people, what skills do they actually have? I know computer programming. I can repair electrical circuits. I'm an expert at appraising jewelry. I know how to renovate houses. I can cook. I can fix machinery. I can manage the books. I used to be an accountant. I'm a professional cleaner." A few voices rang out, trying to sound useful. Scattered shouts echoed through the crowd, but then they died down. One by one, they lowered their heads in shame. In reality, these skills weren't the same anymore. They weren't good enough for the new world. We're at the end of the world. What good are these things now? Who needs useless hobbies when survival is the only currency? Why would anyone hire them for skills that no longer matter? What would you even do if you couldn't fight? If you can't kill zombies, you're useless. Absolutely worthless. Now, if you're pretty, maybe you could serve as a stress reliever for some big shot. I might leave you some scraps, but I'm not feeding you for free. Nothing else matters. It's just a pile of junk. A bunch of useless people just trying to keep from fading away. Keeping them alive is just a waste of good food. Hong Mao spat the words out with pure disdain. The look on their faces was one of absolute despair. Contempt filled the air, but no one dared to talk back. I shrugged and said, fine then. I suppose your powers have some kind of actual use. So, I'll let you all stay for now. But understand one thing, I, Li Xian, do not support lazy bums. I'm going to assign you a task. First, this city of Vientiane. Clean it up so it doesn't rot. Do it for me. Starting today, every person who joins the work will receive a reward. I announced they would each get half a kilo of rice. The news hit the crowd like a miracle for their survival. The survivors were stunned and overjoyed to be taken in. They finally had a powerful evolved leader looking out for them. Just for cleaning, they could earn half a kilo of rice. For people on the brink of starvation, this was a total game changer. 2 hours passed by. Just 2 hours later, the entire city of Vientiane was basically scrubbed clean. Everything was tidy and in its proper place. The whole area looked much more comfortable to live in. I gave a casual wave of my hand. A 25-kilo bag of rice dropped right out of the sky. It slammed onto the ground, ready to be split up. The 50 survivors gathered around to take their equal shares. As for my team of evolved warriors, their needs were already taken care of. They set up some tables for the week, brought out the cooking gear, and started a massive hot pot. The smell of steak and lamb hit the air immediately. Watching the meat roast left the survivors completely stunned. I could hear them whispering, is that really roasted lamb? And is that human? God, it smells incredible. My evolved warriors were actually eating roast lamb at the end of the world. Some of the survivors started looking like they were questioning their own reality. Seeing that beef hot pot made my own stomach growl. I watched them shove food into their mouths, unable to hold back anymore. They looked at my team and wondered, what kind of status do these people have? My supplies seemed to appear out of thin air to them. They realized that working for a boss like me was a different world entirely. Could Boss Lee be a spatial power user? One whispered. Did I have some kind of magical ability to grant wishes? They were convinced I had my own personal storage dimension. It has to be that, they muttered. It's just too incredible. The sheer amount of supplies I had on hand was mind-blowing. To them, my stockpile must have seemed bottomless. After all, I had already secured the resources of the entire city of Vientiane. They started obsessing over my team, trying to figure out my hobbies. They thought if they could just please me, their meals might improve. The discussion grew heated as they realized they were now under my command. Naturally, they felt they had to uncover my personal tastes. It was the only way to truly integrate into the team. Some of the attractive girls immediately thought about seduction, but the men knew their only path forward was to become evolved warriors. To evolve, you need to consume energy cores. But if they were too terrified to fight zombies, they'd never get those crystals. Without crystals, they would never have the power to evolve. It was a vicious, never-ending cycle. I knew I had to change their current situation. One of my men stepped forward and told them, listen up and don't say I didn't warn you. Captain Lee is a powerful spatial user, the likes of which you've never seen. But he has a very specific hobby that benefits anyone who helps him. He collects gold and silver jewelry, jade, emeralds, you name it. Rare minerals too. The rarer, the better. The more value a collector would find in an object, the more he likes it. If you can find something he wants, Captain Lee won't just let you survive, he'll let you thrive. You might even get the chance to eat real meat again. He might even reward you with a zombie crystal core. That is how you start your path to evolution. It all starts with Captain Lee. 1 kilogram of gold can be traded for a kilogram of rice. Think about that and decide for yourselves. Eagle stepped in front of the group of survivors. He played the part of the good guy, giving them a lead. He dropped a few hints, and immediately, someone's eyes lit up with greed and hope. Boss Lee, I used to be a bank manager. I know exactly where the gold vault is located. I'm talking about the Blue Star Bank reserves. We have a massive gold vault right here in AICHE City. There are at least 100 tons of gold stored there. If you're interested, I can lead you straight to it. An overweight, middle-aged man scurried over to flatter me. Hearing this, I immediately felt a surge of excitement. A massive gold vault. Fine, we rest today, then we move. Tomorrow we go for the vault. If we really find hundreds of tons of gold, I'll grant you a massive reward. I'll give you 100 kilograms of gold. That's 100 kilograms of rice and meat, plus 5 level 1 crystal cores so you can start your journey to becoming an evolved human. Thank you, boss. Your humble servant, Fuguei, is 50 years old. I am willing to do anything for you, boss, no matter the danger. Fuguei looked absolutely ecstatic. He immediately began swearing his loyalty to me. Before the apocalypse, he had been a successful man. Even though he'd been living like a dog since the world ended, he knew that with one real chance, he could turn his life around. Opportunity always favors those who are prepared. I watched him give it his all. The group ate and drank until they were full. They began making the beds while I gathered balls. Grim Red, South Sea Ocean, Eagle, and St. Johann. The 6 of us evolved humans went into a private room. I looked at St. Johann. Right now, you're just a single, level 1 ability user. Normally, according to the rules, you would have to make enough contributions to the team before I give you supplies. But your ability is healing, pure healing. In team combat, that changes everything. It could have a massive impact, so I'm making an exception. I'm going to give you a special loan of 10,000. Level 1 Zombie Crystal Cores. I'll also provide the high-energy food you'll need after you level up. Of course, every bit of this loan must be paid back. Once you upgrade, your healing ability will be a service I charge for. You'll work for the team's success to clear your debt. You don't have any objections, do you? I asked, keeping my expression cold and professional. This girl was only 19 years old. 19. And her beauty was incredibly rare. She was stunning, even without a drop of makeup on her face. She looked like a one-in-a-million masterpiece. She had the aura of a pure lotus flower rising from the water. Naturally, she didn't need any extra help to stand out. Her presence was as sharp and moving as a cold blade. She looked at me with wide, hopeful eyes. She didn't need a single drop of makeup. It was clear her natural beauty was on a different level. I have no objections at all, she replied softly. Thank you for looking out for me, Captain. She nodded, looking around at the rest of my elite squad. Compared to these high-level, evolved warriors, she probably felt a bit useless right now. The others didn't exactly look approachable. They didn't seem like the type to make small talk. To her, I probably seemed like the only kind one there. She likely thought, he must be a good person. After all, I had taken in so many people, saving survivors and sharing my resources with them. In her eyes, that was proof enough that I still had a conscience. I turned to the others and said, you cleared every zombie in Bonchang City. That contribution is massive, and so are the supplies we secured. This time, you can earn a total of 100 crystal cores. Shadow crystal cores. Level 1, plus 5 cell cores. The count for level 2 zombie crystals is set. I gathered the crystal cores and the supplies. If you use them all, it should be enough to upgrade your job, push your strength to level 3, and break through your fire ability. The entire team's combat power will play a vital role now. I pulled out the crystal cores and the supplies. I handed them over to Red Hair. He looked ecstatic and said, thank you, boss. I definitely won't let you down. I'll hit that goal. He wants to reach level 3 as soon as possible. With these supplies and cores, he lacks nothing. In 3 days at most, they'll be put to use. He'll be able to reach that peak figure. Level 3 Fire Elemental Ability. Shadow. I looked at her and asked, how many crystal cores? How many level 2s do you need to reach level 3? I'm missing about 6, she replied. I'll give you 7 level 2 crystal cores. And plenty of supplies. Food, everything. Focus on breaking through. Do it soon. Understood. Thank you, boss. Okian, based on this team's contribution, you can receive your reward now. Either level 3 zombie crystal cores, or 100 level 1 crystal cores. You can choose either one. Boss, I'll take the level 2s, she said firmly. She requested 5 level 2 zombie crystal cores. Tsuchiya Okio waited for my response. Fine. By the way, prepare something for me later. Fill a tub with water. I'm going home. I need a good soak as soon as it's ready. As I said this, So Zhao's face turned bright red. Inexplicable, strange images began to flood her mind. She looked like a deer in headlights. Your reconnaissance skills are top tier. They're incredibly useful whenever I get the chance to deploy them. I'll track down a Barrett sniper rifle for you to play with. As for this team's contribution, you'll receive 3 level 3 zombie crystal cores. Any objections? None at all, she replied. To be honest, I didn't do much this time around. It's mainly because the ammo in my weapon is running low. Every single shot counts now. I need to be careful and economize. Fine, next time I get the chance, I'll look for some for you. You need some rounds. You use 7.62 millimeter, right? Yes, boss. Good. I nodded at her. I handed Eagle 3 level 2 crystal cores. There were 35 cores in total, all level 2 crystals. This time, over 1 million pounds were distributed. I gave out 20, leaving 15. There are still 380 left. I finished distributing the level 1 crystal cores. I handed out 110, leaving 270 in my stash. Finally, there was one more thing to handle. I pulled out a level 3 crystal core. These cores should be enough to trigger a breakthrough. I need my apocalypse self and my city self to advance at the same time. Both versions of me need to reach level 3 evolution. Once the supplies were settled, I gathered the team members. Every evolver followed the instructions I gave them. I retreated into a separate, private room. I sat down and began consuming the blood cores. The zombie crystal sat heavy in my hand. I focused on a level 2 crystal core first. I swallowed it whole, and a sudden warmth surged through me. It rushed from my chest straight to my limbs. I felt my physical frame beginning to strengthen. Every cell in my body began to metabolize at a frantic pace. The gray space inside my mind started to react. It began to expand, slowly pushing its boundaries. After half an hour, my space had grown to 98 cubic meters. I ignored everything else and focused on consuming the cores. The hunger deep inside my body finally began to fade. I reached out and grabbed another one. It was another level 2 crystal core. My mental space expanded to 108 cubic meters. Then it hit 110 cubic meters. Soon, it reached 128 cubic meters. After several rounds of these upgrades, I could feel the strengthening effect of the level 2 cores starting to wane. The energy was no longer pushing me forward like before. I had reached the absolute limit of a level 2 evolver. Finally, I pulled out that level 3 zombie crystal core. I had used the level 2 cores to push my physical vessel to its peak, even without tapping into my spatial abilities. The raw power behind my fist was staggering. I estimated my striking force was at least 5 tons, maybe even more. Now, it was time to consume the level 3 crystal. There was no longer any risk of the virus reinfecting my system. In truth, I could have taken this level 3 core much earlier. I could have ascended to a level 3 ability user long ago. But my nature has always been defined by extreme caution. I sensed that rushing the process would be far too risky. After all, I had only just surpassed level 2. But now, I have finally reached the ceiling, the absolute limit of human evolution. Consuming the crystal core now was finally safe. I placed the level 3 core into my mouth. I swallowed it in one gulp. The moment it hit my stomach, a violent energy exploded. It swept through my entire body with a madness I hadn't expected. My blood began to boil and veins bulged across my skin. My entire body turned as red as a cooked shrimp. Then, my pores began to leak. Thick, black blood started oozing out of me. I looked like a terrifying ghost. Anyone who saw me in this state would have nightmares for years. The energy was stripping away my very skin. My skin began to crack and split, and it didn't take long. The energy was fighting for control of my very essence. I was transformed into a man made of nothing but blood and pain. It was an agony that no living being should be able to endure, 10 times worse than the feeling of having your bones crushed. I felt like every inch of my body was being torn apart, completely shattered. My physical form seemed to be on the verge of total collapse. If it weren't for the fact that I had already strengthened my physique to its absolute limit, I would be dead. For 2 hours, I endured it. 2 full hours of hell until the pain finally receded like a tide. I felt reborn as the blood covering my body gradually dried and flaked off, leaving a massive mess behind. I was like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. In that moment, I realized everything had changed. The entire world looked different to me now. Even the tiny insects crawling in the distant dirt or flying 50 meters away were now perfectly visible to my eyes. I could even track the mosquitoes mid-flight. I knew exactly how many times their wings beat per second. The sound was crystal clear to me now. My senses had expanded across dozens of meters. My mind felt sharper, my thoughts moving with lightning speed. It was an incredibly powerful sensation. I could perform complex multidimensional calculations in my head. 6-figure multiplication and division took me mere seconds. Even the storage space in my mind expanded. It grew directly to 220 cubic meters of pure storage capacity. Then, I tested my spatial blades. With just a thought, I focused the energy into my fingertips. 10 blades of pure spatial energy condensed instantly. Summoning 10 blades at once as a level 3 user was simply terrifying. Wiping out an entire team would now take nothing more than a thought. Back in the city at 9 a.m., I began my next task. I started consuming the zombie crystal nuclei I had stored. Before, I didn't have enough to make a real difference. Since I had surpassed level 3, I could only consume level 1 nuclei for now. A level 2 ability user consuming level 1 nuclei. The effect would be drastically reduced and simply wasn't worth it. But now that I had enough level 2 nuclei, they became my top priority. As always, I made sure to prepare properly. I needed plenty of food on hand. While I consumed the nuclei, I ate constantly to keep my energy up. I used the food to fill the void as I absorbed 9 level 2 nuclei. My body grew 9 times stronger, and my brain space expanded steadily. It reached a total of 318 cubic meters. But even with all that power, something was missing. I still hadn't managed to break through to the 3rd level. I started consuming the 10th nucleus, then the 11th. I kept going until I had exhausted every single one of my level 2 nuclei, yet I still couldn't do it. The breakthrough to the 3rd level remained out of reach. It seems reaching the 3rd evolution level is a massive challenge for humanity. Becoming a high-tier evolved being isn't as easy as I imagined, and I might need more time to adjust. It was time to start consuming the blood nuclei. I needed to break through to level 3, or at least reach the absolute limit of my current energy. I had to consume even more than I already had. It would take at least 10 more level 2 nuclei to succeed. That was the price of breaking through as a high-tier ability user. I would need a team of at least 3 people to help, and I'd have to prepare more than 20 level 3 nuclei. The path of evolution was proving much harder than I imagined. I didn't force it since I couldn't hit level 3 in a single battle. Still, my mental space had already expanded significantly. It was now 338 cubic meters. My telekinetic power had surged along with it. In terms of raw strength and precision control, I could now lift heavy objects weighing over 1,380 kilograms. I was wielding over a ton of pure force. After completing this wave of upgrades, I felt like a true powerhouse. I picked up my phone and called San Francisco. I spoke to O'Day to get things ready for the day. It was time to sell him another massive batch of jewelry. Brother Kai had already finished his investigation into me. His goal was to crack the secret behind my technology. Li Xian, male, age 20, background check, family status, orphaned of both parents. Currently studying finance at Yangqing University. A 3rd-year student, fresh off a breakup with his girlfriend. No official history of power, none at all. He wasn't from a rich family. This kid was a total nobody just 2 weeks ago. But recently, I had suddenly struck it rich. I didn't just have 128 apartments registered in my name. I had also purchased a brand new Rolls-Royce with a bank balance of $1 billion. Actually, $1.8 billion, and that was just the surface. They dug into the details of my recent transactions. It was undeniable. I was the one who supplied the Kwayuk auction. Just a short while ago, I was the source of those twin Imperial Green Jade bracelets. The purest quality imaginable. I was also the seller behind that top-tier gemstone necklace. The sky blue one that everyone was hunting for. Even before that, I had quietly offloaded 30 gold bars. I was moving them through unofficial channels, selling them under market value to various jewelry shops across the city. To them, this was proof enough that my supply was endless. My gold and jewels didn't come from any legal or historical source, and it looked like I still had plenty of stock left. A man with a rat-like face and sunken cheeks reported his findings to Brother Kai. He had dug into every single one of my recent moves. An orphan with no family, no backing, and no history. Then, out of nowhere, I hit the jackpot. If a guy like me suddenly vanished, who would even notice? Brother Kai let a cold smirk crawl across his face. Extortion, murder, robbery, his crew didn't have a single limit. To these kidnappers, I was nothing more than a massive, juicy slab of meat. They had already mapped out my entire daily routine. Every single time I ordered takeout, they were watching. My takeout orders were always extra-large packages. Each one cost thousands of yuan. This was actually causing a massive headache for the kidnappers. The delivery drivers coming to my door were constant. The stream of food arriving for me was simply endless. One after another, they just wouldn't stop showing up. With so many people coming and going, they couldn't find a window to attack. Brother Kai cursed, wondering if I was some kind of pig to eat that much. By 8:30, the deliveries finally slowed down, and he signaled Anaconda. The plan was to disguise himself as a driver and strike when I opened the door. Rabbit was ordered to stay below and watch the perimeter. Wild Boar was told to follow Brother Kai up to the apartment. He was the one carrying the heavy suitcase. 5 thugs working in perfect sync arrived at my door and called out, "Delivery." The moment I opened the door, 3 of them lunged forward. They slammed the door open and rushed in, ready for a fight. They expected to subdue me instantly, but Anaconda didn't even have time to react. Before he could move, I sent a kick straight into his chest. That single kick landed with 5 tons of pure force. Anaconda's chest caved in as he was launched backward like a ragdoll. He slammed directly into the wall from the impact of my kick. His lower back and his entire body simply gave out. Every single one of his ribs shattered on the spot, killing him instantly. Everything happened at once. Things were getting complicated, and they started shooting. Brother Kai reacted quickly when he saw the situation turning south. He immediately pulled out a handgun and opened fire. 3 bullets flew straight toward me with lethal intent. They were aimed right at my forehead with terrifying precision. But then, an unbelievable scene unfolded right before their eyes. As they watched, the 3 bullets stopped dead in their tracks. Under my cold gaze, the projectiles just hovered there near my feet. They hung suspended in midair, unable to move an inch further. The air in the room felt like it was suffocating them. Pure, unadulterated terror washed over the room. Brother Kai and Wild Boar stood frozen, staring at the impossible sight. My energy surged, completely overriding the physical laws of the world. Total disbelief was written all over their pathetic faces. Brother Kai stammered, "This, you are," as if he finally realized who I was. He seemed to have connected the dots, but it was too late for him. I wasn't going to give them a single second to regret their choices. The 3 bullets that had been suspended in the air suddenly vanished. They ricocheted backward at an incredible, blinding speed. In an instant, Brother Kai and Wild Boar were gone. They were both killed instantly by a single shot to the head. "Hey, Brother Kai, what's going on over there? What happened? Do you copy? Hey, answer me." Rabbit's inquisitive voice crackled through the air. It was coming directly from Brother Kai's Bluetooth earpiece. There was still a part of this story they hadn't seen coming. It was a shame they wouldn't live long enough to talk about it. They had finally bitten off more than they could chew. I decided to answer the call myself. I spoke coldly into the mic. "Who do you think I am? Congratulations, you guessed right. But unfortunately for you, there is no prize. It's time for you to leave this world, Rabbit." I let out a cold, dark smile. 2 flying needles suddenly shot out from the ground. They streaked toward the window of room 500. The needles flew with violent intent toward the men. They descended slowly toward the ground floor of the residential complex. I controlled the flying needles, making them bend through the air towards Skinny Monkey. "Start the car and get out of here," Rabbit screamed before he could even finish. The 2 flying needles pierced through the air like a liquid blur. They shattered the car window at lightning speed. The needles tore straight through their targets. I finished them both off with a single, decisive strike. Everything was over in the blink of an eye. I had eliminated all 5 bandits with ruthless efficiency. I moved with lightning speed to clean up the mess. I searched their pockets and stripped them of anything useful. I grabbed the bodies and stored them away in my dimensional space. Then I headed to the base of the residential building. I made sure every trace of the bodies was gone. Skinny Monkey and Rabbit were officially erased. I drove my truck away, avoiding any police patrols in the area. I pulled on a baseball cap and threw on a delivery man's uniform. I sped away at full throttle toward a different district. I headed straight for a sparsely populated area to disappear. I disposed of the bodies and the car all at once. I watched them sink into the dark depths of the Yinsa River. To me, these guys weren't even a real threat. I checked into a nearby hotel as if nothing had happened. I realized I can't stay in one place for too long anymore. Staying mobile is the only way to prevent another ambush. This crew of professional kidnappers, did they really think they could take me down? They had me right in their crosshairs from the start. If I were anyone else, I'd be dead by now. It seems my sudden wealth has painted a target on my back. Word of my fortune is spreading to the wrong people. Greedy eyes are everywhere, but I can handle the heat. I opened up the diary I took from the leader. I whispered to myself, well, look at this. These guys were a pack of ruthless animals. They had spent years operating across multiple countries. The diary listed at least 20 different hits, 20 counts of kidnapping and cold-blooded murder. Pure evil, and this was just the beginning of their record. They were even on the list of most wanted international criminals. They weren't ashamed of it. They were proud. Extremely brutal. They almost never missed a target they set their sights on. But I found plenty of useful things inside that book. I went through the diary and Sokai's backpack. I found a gold mine of information hidden in his gear. There were over a dozen fake IDs and 20 unregistered money laundering accounts. And then, there were the Bitcoin accounts. Every single password was written right there in the diary. I guess he couldn't keep track of so much data on his own. Is this what they call being thorough? He wrote every detail down. I flipped to the very last page of the diary. There was even more intel there. The contact information for a black market arms dealer. I let out an ironic smile. It seems that, since Sokai is dead, I might as well become Sokai. Apocalypse. 10 in the morning. The survivors had already started cooking by the time I slowly got out of bed. Because of the delay from the kidnapping incident, I ended up waking up late. But nobody dared to disturb me, and honestly, I hadn't even noticed the time. I must have consumed too many crystal cores yesterday, which is why I slept in. I took 5 level 2 crystal cores yesterday, and I feel like I'm hitting a limit. It seems that reaching the next level is going to be a bit difficult. Reaching level 3 requires taking things one step at a time. You can't just get fat on power all at once. Otherwise, the pressure on the body becomes too much to handle. Right now, I can launch 100 fireballs in a row, and I can do it without feeling much strain at all. John Mouse said this with a heavy sigh, acting all exhausted. On the surface, he was complaining about only taking 5 level 2 cores. But in reality, he was just showing off his progress. Making that much improvement in a single night is insane. At this rate, it won't be long before he hits the next milestone. He'll probably reach level 3 in just a few days. If that isn't bragging, I don't know what is. Then he turned to the new girl and asked, San-Johan, did you hit level 2 yet? John Mouse stared at her, waiting for an answer. He asked the new girl directly. Yes, I managed to reach it yesterday without any problems. Thank you for your concern, Herb. San-Johan spoke softly to Red Hair. She looked down shyly, but he just waved it off. It doesn't matter, we're teammates, we have to help each other. Your ability is healing, right? Come here and heal me a bit. I want to see exactly what your power can do. But brother Red Hair, you aren't even hurt, so how can I? How am I supposed to heal you? He let out a dark, dry chuckle and said, getting hurt is the easy part. Edgerson laughed with a malicious glint in his eyes. I watched as he pulled out a sharp dagger. Without hesitating for a second, he stabbed his own thigh. Blood splattered instantly, a sight that would terrify any normal person. There, see? Am I not injured enough for you now? San-Johan, hurry up and heal me already. He looked down at the deep gashes with a grim expression. It's nothing. Now to your job, San-Johan. I realized right then that Red Hair was a total freak. Who the hell stabs themselves just to show off? Sanjahan's hands began to glow with a massive cluster of light. A vibrant green energy cascaded down like a waterfall. It settled directly onto Red Hair's mangled thigh. The blade had hit the main artery, but the flesh began knitting back together instantly. In exactly 7 minutes and 8 seconds, the wound vanished. Not even a scar remained. It was perfect. Little sister San-Johan, your power is truly something else. It's like magic. I feel like you didn't just heal my leg. I feel like you even reached back and healed my childhood trauma. Red Hair spoke with a look of pure, smug satisfaction. How pathetic. I could see San-Johan was visibly shaken. She looked disgusted, a cold shiver running down her spine. But to him, her feelings didn't matter at all. San-Johan had finally seen Red Hair for the pervert he really was. Seriously, who stabs themselves just because they can? I watched Sanjahan's hands closely. They were still pulsing with an incredible volume of raw energy. The fluorescent green light poured down. It washed over Red Hair's leg, right where he had sliced his femoral artery. The flesh began to knit back together at an impossible speed. It was happening right before my eyes. The wound vanished in a matter of seconds. Just 7 or 8 seconds, to be exact. Not even a scar remained. Little sister Johan, your power is truly magical, he purred. I feel like you didn't just heal my leg. I feel like you even reached back and healed the trauma. The pain I've carried since I was a child. He looked at her with those creepy, lingering eyes. Red Hair spoke with a look of sickening serenity. I watched him, my skin crawling. He was absolutely greasy. San-Johan looked like she was about to be sick. She was clearly disgusted by his very existence. It's crazy how different the paths of the evolved can be. But I didn't have time to dwell on it. It was time for my first trip into the city. As soon as I made my appearance, crowds of survivors came swarming toward me immediately. They completely surrounded me. Captain Lee, I heard you have a taste for the finer things. Things like jewelry, gold, and jade.